Good evening, geeky types, and welcome to this week's midweek geek. You're looking perturbed about being called a geeky type. You're very much a geeky type.
I'm just shocked that I can make out Iman. He's lit.
I'm in my bedroom.
No,
He's in his boudoir.
is that what we're calling it? The boudoir.
The boudoir.
The boudoir.
Do you put a red light on by the window?
No.
Iman.
Hello all. Hello. I am joined by familiar faces, familiar voices. We have Iman, Saxius, and the Bear. Good evening, chaps. Good evening.
Even all.
If you want to follow their channels, these are the names of their channels here up on screen. So we have Intellectual Quandary, Accounting DM, and the Bear, the Gen X GM. So follow them and follow me, but you probably already do because you're here. Hello, Mage. Hello, Daniel. Hello, Nosaurian. Hello, Andy. I'm going up chat at the moment, and Saxius has managed to put the final countdown in everybody's head.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Hello, Mondo. Hello, Mondo. Bear, I bought some of your fake currency today.
You bought some of my fake currency today. First of all, I have nothing to do with the currency of this country, so stop calling it mine. Thank you very much. It is the currency of the nation, and it has your stupid woman on it. So maybe
only on one of the notes. It's only on one of the notes.
Because it was slowly getting rid of her on all the rest.
Ah,
she's on the 20 still, isn't she?
Yes.
But yeah, hey, save the mad cow, but get her off our money. You know what I'm saying?
She was awesome, was Queenie.
I'm sure she was.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about her eldest. But,
what? You have a problem with King Charles?
He's a bit bonkers. I think Princess Anne's awesome. I think Princess Anne's great.
Which Charles is he? Third, fourth, sixth? What?
Charles III.
Third. No, I was nowhere near.
Charles III.
I think pretty good for you. Charles II. He had a nice long run.
He did all right. Yeah. 25 years.
And then his daughter was your favorite.
Charles II's daughter.
Oh no. Edward. What was Lizzie? What was Lizzie II's dad? Edward.
That's Lizzie II's dad.
George
the Sixth.
You know, you need more names. I'm just going to throw that out there. You need to start throwing some more names into your royal.
Hello,
name.
our dog book too.
Hey, Art.
Hello, you're wrong. You have a problem with all kings and our inbred monarchies. Well, some of them have some dodgy, proclivities. But Princess Anne, you can't knock her. She's awesome. But yeah, we do need a few more names. I mean,
yes, I don't live in the UK. I know nothing about Princess Anne because she's of little relevance to us in Canada. Sadly,
she's the hardest working member of the family. She's paid
that doesn't. Yeah, show me her working in the sewers, and then I'll be like, yeah, that's a hard working royal.
Yeah. You've confirmed 4 players for my guest in OSE game. Right. Okay. So we have Onion Buns, Colin Bush, Rats the Scorpion Slayer, and our guy who played Legolas, now the Hood. Excellent. So I'm going to be playing with Onion Buns. So should I be garlic something or other? Because onion, the garlic is a member of the onion family. Was it vice versa?
My name's Bulb Garlic.
Garlic Bulb.
Bob Garlic. How you doing?
Yes. Well, buns also can be your bum, can't it?
Well, no, it can also be
boobs,
breasts. Yeah,
breasts as well. So yeah. Garlic boobies. There we go. Onion Bun's little brother. No, that's not going to happen that way. No. Princess Anne is the last queen's eldest daughter. Yes, she's younger than Charles and older than Mr. Diddler. So, yeah. Right.
Not even 5 minutes into the stream and we're demonetized.
I don't monetize this.
I know.
UK only.
Hello, George.
bet you there's
I don't
they would
monetize
automatically monetize you for talking smack about the world. Ireland's probably all that. Give him all the money.
Irish in chat, give me all the money, all of it.
We've got isn't Dan Irish, like by heritage?
Yeah.
It was O'Kearney originally, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yes. And he spelled Daniel weirdly with all the Gaelic sort of stuff.
I don't know the Gaelic spelling of Daniel.
I don't know the Gaelic spelling of Daniel either. No.
Well, it looks like Daniel. Must be the clouds in my eyes.
Right. We have something to talk about tonight. But before we talk about things, let's talk about games. Now, we didn't play Call of Cthulhu last night. We made characters instead. Oh. Erin go brag.
Erin go bra, or as we like to say it, Erin go braless.
Yes. Thank you, Bear.
Hey, I'll pay $5 Canadian for a good Irish joke.
Yes. Shillelagh. No, sorry, Shillelagh.
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 Yes.
Yeah, let's not get into Irish spelling. It doesn't work out well.
Oh yeah.
Just ask Siobhan. She'll tell you.
Oh, God.
Siobhan.
Or Queever.
Siobhan! Seamless!
The weirdest one to me is Queever.
Queever.
It's spelt like K-O-me.
Saxis is like about to pop. Put down the super chat and let's get on topic before we all die a Danish.
I was giving him 1 more minute. And then I was going to say, you're 10 minutes in, John. Get on with it. You.
Okay. Right, talk about your games. I'm going to talk about Call of Cthulhu. We just made characters for the 1890s side quest, which we're doing after Clericon. So we didn't play. Monday, I played in the game that Mike from our Tuesday group runs, except we didn't really play. We just spent the whole time tormenting Ross, and our DM, Mike, had no control over us whatsoever. It was very funny, but we didn't get much done. And on Merp on Saturday, they got involved in a big fight, and went straight for this isolated tower that's in an awkward to reach spot, and managed to get in there and took on the guy who was in there, and then realized afterwards that it might just be someone very important they've just beaten. That will resume after Clericon. So they're in Tharbad, and they're looking for...
Oh, the suspense.
The suspense, yeah. Looking for the people running the Thieves Guild in Tharbad. And yeah, they might just have got somebody important. Possibly. It just dawned on them at the end of the session. Cheers, Mage. Your Call of Cthulhu game this week ran for about 2 hours, and you added 2 new players to the team. Only 2 hours. But adding 2 new players is always good. But did you kill 2 other players first? That's
2 in, 2 out.
2 in, 2 out. Yes. So that's been all my gaming. Iman, talk about your gaming.
What gaming?
Have you done no gaming?
No. I played Heroic with Saxis on Friday. It was really good.
Well, go on.
Oh God, here we go. You really want me? Okay.
Yes.
So, Quantum Logic, my character missed the last session because I was ill. But Sax just made that work sort of in world, so that's fine. Basically, I woke up from like my coma or nap or whatever it was, and I had PTSD. So whenever someone mentioned Dr. Gargantuan, I was like, because that was the last thing that I remember seeing. Wow.
Yeah, that's incredible, Helical.
That's impressive. But yeah, so after he woke up, we concocted a plan to go, and we had to meet up with I'm drawing a blank on the name. I remember Squire, and it was Nighthawk, I believe.
Hold on. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So we had a meeting with Nighthawk, and Squire was like that typical young lad who's really optimistic about everything, who just wants to impress everyone.
Which
Nighthawk.
Squire and Nighthawk might this be, Saxius?
My interpretations of them.
Of number 3 or number 2?
Well, I'm only using number 3.
Oh, so the chick.
The one
Yeah.
you didn't
the Asian
use, I
kid.
believe.
Yes.
Who's gay as the wind.
he's
It's in his
pretty
bio. It's in
he's
his
pretty
bio.
fanciful.
He's nice, great. I just killed him in my heroic campaign,
Yep.
and everyone's really, really upset about it because they loved him, and now they're all like, "How? What? No, you killed our favorite NPC." I'm like, "Oh, life's hard. Get a helmet, heroes." Sorry, man. Keep going. It's just I heard names of my characters. I'm like,
No, it's fine. So we basically had we went to the docks because there was some like ledgers or files that we needed to investigate with regards to what sort of shipments were coming in and out. So me being me, obviously I was invisible, which Saxius, I know he loves that. There was a scout for, we're not sure who, but there was definitely someone looking out on top of the docks and looking out, sort of Overwatch, on top of a crane. I'm drawing a blank on the name, Saxius.
Warhawk.
Warhawk, that was it.
"Ooh."
And yeah, I think I had to pass some sort of roll, but I noticed him off in the distance, and I was like, I pointed it out to the rest of the gang. At which point we sort of formulate a plan to, you know, you go do this, I'll be here waiting, that sort of thing. So we took this guy out.
How did it
And
go
then-
afterwards?
What? So me and Quantum Logic and Flux were dealing with Warhawk. Meanwhile, I think it was Exodus, or was it Obfuscate? Exodus,
Both.
yeah. And okay, so Obfuscate, Exodus, and Night Owl went to go break into these shipping containers using thermite grenades, right?
Yes.
Which obviously made a big scene. Obviously caused a lot of property damage, which we lost karma for.
Good.
Yes.
And then I believe the cops came, right? At which point Night Owl just shouts, "Raggedy Men!"
Yes.
And we all just peace out.
Yes.
So we'd basically changed ourselves into disguises of like just basically rags and, you know, stuff like that. So we couldn't be easily recognized. So now we might have another like alias as the Raggedy Men. So not only are we a little superhero group, we're now also a Raggedy Men group. So
Cool. I can't wait to see your set at Coachella. Or sorry, Glastonbury for the Brits.
yes, would be fun.
You just
Did I
have to
miss
fight
anything?
Thunderdome. That's all that's going to happen.
I probably missed out some details there, Saxius, but I hope I did somewhat justice.
You got a good amount of it. The main ones being that you guys did a lot of property damage at a port to a big city.
Yes.
And I kept reminding you after the game, I've worked with ports. This does not go down well. To which the majority of the players said, they went, "Oh yeah, I forget you worked in shipping."
Yeah. Also, the ports in Capital City South are completely controlled by the Syndicate. This should work out well for you.
My Kickstarter won't arrive now. You've destroyed it.
I cannot wait. See, Iman, have you joined the Patreon yet?
No, I still need to. There's so many
this
things.
is why
I need
you
to
don't
do.
know what's going on, and Saxius has literally just put you into a world of hurt. It's so rewarding to hear my creation coming to life in someone else's world and fucking players. Bravo.
You picked the right man for the job, mate. Let me tell you.
I didn't pick him. He did it himself, and I applaud it.
Yeah, no, I
The
wanted
right
to
man
run
put
this.
himself forward. The right man volunteered as tribute.
Spin the
That was
wheel, Raggedy Man.
But yeah, no, it was really fun. Unfortunately, we're not going to play one this Friday. So it'll be the Friday after the next one.
Yep.
But looking forward to it regardless.
Same.
Okie dokie. Is that your only game you've played, Saxius, or have you played others as well?
No, my Saturday group, we sat down and we did the whole what game are we going to play next? And it took us about 3 hours, but then we landed on Rogue Trader Warhammer 40,000. So they are going to go through that. So that's going to be fun. Nothing like space logistics and the Dark Imperium. So I'll
Taxes
be reading
in
up.
space.
You know. Oh.
No. It's conquistadors in space as well.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's like here's a batch of space that we have not conquered. You have to go in there, claim it in our names. If you do a very good job, great. We might remember you. If you don't, we're gonna take everything you built and burn you and your name to the ground. So you better do good. It is not for the faint of heart. And one of
Okay.
the players have already well done, Geek. Well done.
Saeed,
Wow.
it's nice to see you again.
Outside of that, I had my 5th edition game where I emotionally and psychically attacked one of the players, which is lovely.
Emotional damage.
Oh, great. I've been working on a letter from the character's father because from the very beginning, the character was basically in pseudo exile because his father just could not approve of anything that he had done. And I thought, right, you've been in the new world for quite a while now. Here is the final offer of you to come home and actually be a man, actually be someone that is worthy of the name that you carry. Or here is a razor. And you being a dwarf, you can remove the stain upon our name, which is your beard. And finally cleanse the family name of what you've done to us. So you now have less than 24 hours to make that decision. And it was a big roleplay moment where the player had to sit down with all the other players and basically go through like, well, if I go on the boat back to my family, that's it for my character. I have to make a brand new one. I am gone. I'm not just going to be gone for a week. I'm going to be gone forever. And it's a big thing. And a few sessions ago, the player said, like, I think I'm finding inner peace with who I am. I was like, no, you're not. No, you're not. I wrote a damning letter that, like, where the player said that even after having read it, he was texting his wife to go and get him a beer because he needed to, like, calm down from just the feelings I had been stabbing into him. I wrote it like a disappointed father. No, yes. No, he is at fault here. I'm going to stand my ground on this. This is his fucking problem. He's the one. I asked everyone, give me 2 characters that you would like to have mentioned. What does he do? He comes and gives me ammunition. So why would anyone be surprised when I take that ammunition, I shoot him in the knees? It is not my problem that he gives me ammunition. As a matter of fact, it is the player's incentive that they want to do this because they want drama. That's me. I'm done now.
Feels like you just started.
We've got to say hello to Omanal, who has joined us. Hello, Omanal. Also in chat, we have RPG Dad and O'Neill Flynn, who both said hello. And yeah, I bought myself a Fez because
John's been in Morocco for a while. And
I'm not going to Morocco. I'm not going
It ain't
to.
working.
No. And the problem is, these were one size fits all. Apparently, it doesn't fit me.
Welcome to my world, mate.
I've got an extremely fat head.
Same. No moss cat I ever get fits me.
Yeah, because that's what I'm running next in the Call of Cthulhu campaign. And there is a brilliant NPC in that called Henri, who is the conductor of the train. And Mike, who has already played that scenario, will be playing the part of Henri, and he's bought a conductor's hat. So.
Exactement.
Je m'appelle Henri.
So, Bear Games.
Yeah.
Bear Games.
No games since the last time I saw you, but I've been working on something, which is I finally got my BRP hack going. It's my old Final Age setting for 5e, which I'm converting over to my version of basic role playing, and got a lot of it done. Spent like days and days and days and days writing it, just crazy, go nuts. And my most favorite part is the extensive and alluring magic systems I've created for it. Yes, that's right, systems. All of them a really bad idea. because in the world of Final Age, magic is danger, and it can really screw you up and cause horrible things to happen. Yet these systems are so compelling and interesting, it's like a trap for players. No. Go ahead and play a magic user. Let's see how it works out. So a lot of fun working on that and getting it all converted over. And I made over 170 creature entries for the bestiary that are basically summer. Like there's no there's a couple like boring ones, and then there's all kinds of like this but possessed, this but demonic, or the gallows man, or whatever the hell I came up with. There's a ton of them. I'm probably gonna do more. But yeah, and now what I've done is I've put it all together in a document. I've handed it off to some proofers and said, go read this, tell me what's missing, tell me what doesn't make sense, and tell me what contradicts. Because I wrote it in spurts, so I didn't really have as much quality control as I would have liked. But it looks good, and as soon as it's ready and I've got it edited up nicely and laid out nicely, I'm going to release it with cover art and no other art on Drive-Thru-RPG. And use the money that I can generate from that to keep funding Heroic Project.
Cool.
Nice.
Cool.
Yeah.
So
That's it for me.
Time. So Omanal, the first time we've seen you on stream for a little while.
Yeah, a lot of working or just not being able to make it in time, or things like that. So let's see. I went over to my friend, invited me over to a game local. I say locally, it's about 40 miles away. So we did that, and that was actually a lot of fun, even though it sounded like Harry Potter meets Spring Break. And using the cipher system, which isn't my favorite, but it worked out really well. Everybody had fun. And then we did, then of course my Axe game's been going on, but since I'm on vacation right now, nothing for this month. But it's been interesting as they slowly make their way up, and we're learning the rules, and hopefully the players are having fun.
You've been keeping yourself occupied because you live on a farm, don't you? Effectively, so
no, I have a farm. It's kind of run by other people. If you only pay taxes of $130 a year, it's worth having the farm, even if it kind of barely makes any money. So, just the land value itself makes it worth it. But mostly, I may do take up some beekeeping later on. Use some of that money I got from a tax refund and throw it into there.
What time zone you in, McDud?
Yeah, I mean, McDud, we play multiple games, so
yeah.
You're welcome to try them. Come along and check them out. And
if you want to set up your own game, there's empty slots all over the week that you can set it up.
Yeah. Oh, Pacific is going to be got to be awkward, haven't you?
Hey, you can get up at 6 a.m. Come on. I get up like 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah, you were up really early the other day, Omanel.
Yeah, well, sometimes I get up early. Yeah, sometimes I get up early and other times I don't. But a lot of times, like when we have the game, I get up so early. I'm like, do I want to take a nap halfway through it? And that's why I'm not playing in like John's game or Gene's. It's like, well, I'll pop in at like 8 o'clock, and they're like, all right, like I can't make it through a whole 4-hour game. So.
Yeah, but you stand up, you pop in for a quick chat, and you're usually still there 3 hours later.
Got astray there.
Anyhow, I'm going to get this fez off because it's too small for me. I might have to snip it down the side just to get it over my fat head.
The real problem is that John, as a child, he didn't have his parents make his head into a cone so it would fit into the fez.
Well, I'm not going to give any things about I could have given a bit of a hint about the adventure. I'm not going to, because I've just realised Iman's here. I don't want to spoil it for him.
Do not do it.
I'm not going to do it. No,
don't spoil it. Just kill his characters.
Yeah.
What call? I've got a room indoors. Can you believe it?
No. With Call of Cthulhu, killing them isn't the fun part. It's driving them insane. That's the fun part.
Yeah.
No, sorry. The hat is a fez. It's a Turkish thing, and it's because they're playing a scenario called the Blood Red Fez. So I've gone and bought that.
Yeah, we sort of roped him into it. It took a whole 2 seconds, but we
for me
managed
to go to
convince
Amazon,
him.
click on buy Fez. Yes. Ah, yeah.
And then
Yes.
Mike bought his train conductor hat.
He did, yes. I mean, the Fez will cover the fact that I have a very fat melon head that's bald. That's the thing. Anyway, we do have a topic. Oh, Mel, you just sort of suggested this topic earlier, didn't you?
No, yes. Well, I was throwing out some of the things, and some of them seem kind of, let's look at some other stuff, because everyone talks about the positive things. So, okay, let's talk about some rules that just bug us, and it may be required or anything like that, but or rules we don't like, or rules that we change just because we don't like them.
Yeah.
And I'll throw out my very first one, which is non-weapon proficiencies for first edition D&D and second edition. I do not like that. I think that it feels like it's more limiting to the players. I much prefer, actually, even including for 5th edition D&D, is if you're going to go proficiency system and you're doing level based, I think Palladium's a better way of doing it. But if you're going to do in D&D, I think the way 5th edition recommended doing it, and some of 1st edition, was you have a profession. If you can argue reasonably that you would have said skill within your profession, then you treat as proficient. And if you don't, then you won't. So if you're a pirate, yes, you should know rope tying and swimming and a few other skills. However, you should know tracking, because how would you know tracking because you're on a ship? So those are the things, a good example I would do. Whereas if you go in the 1st edition D&D, it was required, oh, well, you get this many proficiencies, but in real life, I have this. I know. I think that it actually caused more limitations for players than it include expanding their options.
Yes, yeah, it pigeonholed people, and it had sort of optimal choices, which was a bit of a pain. But of course, it didn't appear in AD&D until 85, I believe, when they came out with Oriental Adventures and the 2 survival guides. That's when all the proficiencies first appeared. And it played much better with that original table in the Dungeon Master's Guide from 1979, which, as you said, you rolled on that to see whether you had a profession and argue away. If you're lots of farmers and traders and people like that, but traders might know how to evaluate something. Barter and bargaining. A farmer would have a good idea of land fertility, soil types, whether something's out of place in terms of whether it should grow in this region or not, that sort of thing. Keeping animals. So yeah, all that sort of thing.
I also want to mention
I
that
completely agree with you.
there were also things like weapon proficiencies. Well, I get this and I get that, and it really pushed players a lot of times to go towards min-maxing than really saying, okay, you have your classes. This is what the class can do. Now, this profession is something that you do when you're not adventuring. And that's what I much prefer, instead of just trying to focus them on that. So in retrospect, again, as a kid, I loved them. But as I get older, I go, no, you're better off not having them. And it allows the player, you don't get the same arguments, because I remember having so many arguments. Well, why wouldn't I have this? Or why wouldn't I have this? And why wouldn't I have it? It's like, no, okay, look, you if you're a forester, I have no problems with you having fire building. It's like, oh, okay. It's just, if it makes sense, then that's fine. And that's what I much prefer.
I mean, I can agree to some extent. Like, again, forest, like most people in the medieval times are going to know how to build a fire. That's fine. But specifically fire building, is that something I would say, all right, we're now in extreme conditions, but some of the proficiencies definitely lean towards, a very specific environment or scenario where it is going to become needed. And you're right, that does mean that you're going to go through the list and the many, complete guides to or handbooks to whatever class. And then you're just going to find out, okay, well, some of these are really good. Some of these are straight up useless unless you are in very niche situations.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I get the point.
We talking about fire building?
No,
about the idea of non-weapon proficiencies that appeared in D&D in the mid-80s.
Yeah, I love them. They're great.
No, they're not.
You see how they make the game better.
No, they don't.
They improve all qualities of all life everywhere. In fact, they should be given the Nobel Prize for making the world just a better place by their mere existence.
Why do I have a feeling that we're watching V from 1984 when Bear's saying these things?
I never saw.
What's wrong with them?
No, I mean,
They're a bit more sort of pigeonholing and.
You mean like reality, where people have some skills and they don't have other skills?
No, the idea originally you had a profession, and you could argue that there's certain things associated with that profession that you can.
Yeah. So you could argue. You could sit around and argue. You know, the only game I've ever seen people argue in is everything pre-second edition Dungeons and Dragons. People argue. And then second edition came along and all the arguments stopped for a really nice little graceful period. Yes,
where did you live? Oh my God.
In Canada, where we actually are civilized with each other, unlike apparently you people. And then third edition came along and all the arguments started up again and haven't stopped since.
Oh my God. I had
so
many
brief
arguments
window of us all playing an edition to the game and going, hey, we're discovering a new edition together and this is fun. But Grognard's going to Grognard, so go ahead, old man, and tell me how I'm wrong. And blah, blah, blah.
You are wrong. I mean, OSE's dragged it all back to AD&D style, and it works better. It works better.
Well, what I find funny is people treated non-proficiencies as core rules when specifically in second edition they said they were optional rules.
Yes,
that's
they
what
were
I found
a great
so funny.
option, and we loved them.
yes, because at the time, second edition came out because they wanted to move away from first edition, and they were looking at that going, right, we want this to be in there. However, in order to market to our core demographic, we need to put it in for this. And that's why it was put in, which is why when you start picking up some of the what's called players, the optional players rules, or the optional rules for players, like skills and powers, Tome of Magic and the like, that is what second edition wanted to be. That is what they wanted to strive towards becoming. And that's and yeah, let's see here. So
well, again, if you really want to play with weapon if you want to play with proficiencies, I recommend doing Palladium. To be fair, it's for a different system for that.
No, I understand that. From what I'm seeing, at least in terms of Palladium, I've seen it from when Bear was running it with what's it called? Was Codex Albana, but that's about as far as I've ever been exposed to Palladium. Aside from that, I like my second edition for it. It's got the D&D that everyone knows. It's got that hallmark, trait that everyone again knows about, but it's got that additional set of systems and again the proficiencies, which then is something that I think enhances the game, because then you build your character to become different. You won't be playing a thief number 1, number 2, number 3. You can be playing 3 completely different thieves. One's a smuggler, the other one's a fence, and then you've got one that's a pickpocket. And the 3 of them can be working in synergy, or they can be completely different.
Wait a minute. You said the evil thing. Building characters. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'll say it again. I tell my players to build the characters, because it is building blocks for some of these things.
Yeah. Daryl, I've never watched Roll for Combat, but they're covering can players override the Dungeon Master right now. Very similar topic. There can be issues. I mean, to be honest, can players override the Dungeon Master? No. But you can make a point to discuss something after the session.
I think a lot of it is that people look at overruling rather than like collaborating with the Dungeon Master.
Yes.
Because I think that people are looking at that. If really the only overrule you get is if you're doing something the Dungeon Master isn't going to have fun, you're not going to have a game. If the players aren't having fun, they all leave, you're not going to have a game. So you have to collaborate in that. It's not one over the other.
But here's the difference. If the players all leave, you can just go back to your world building. If the DM all leaves, the players can sit around and pound sand.
Well, then they create their own games. That's how we always did it. That's why we.
It's okay. Listen, I'm just trying to cause problems so that way I get another video made about comments I made on this show, because I think that's the height of my career now.
Why Bear is right and you're wrong.
Why Bear's wrong and can't GM for shit was apparently the theory of the last version. So that's kind of cool.
By a certain carrion bird.
Yes. Can't endanger those any faster, can we?
All right. Go on then. Bear, any rules?
Yeah, well-
any rules in any RPGs that you really hate?
Yes, many.
Let's have one. Let's hammer it out.
I'm so tired of hearing hit points are a representation of your strength and your endurance and your and a round is more than a minute and it's a series of feints and blah 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 and there's only the one. Jesus Christ! I've never played D&D and I played D&D from coast to coast with anyone who did that. Even in the old first edition days, rounds were immediate and cinematic, right? And this argument that the grognards love to make about how, well, the rules clearly stay in Gary. I don't give a fuck what Gary said, clearly. And I don't give a shit what the interpretation is because people have played it a certain way for the majority and the mass of it not being a 1 minute back and forth. They don't narrate it like that. It's all telling blows, and that's all people care about. And that's fun. But this argument will continue every time you bring up that armor class should make you damage resistant, not harder to hit. Hit points are not representative of a reality of taking wounds, and you get these fucking apologist arguments that drive me insane.
Or you just played the game wrong, and we all played the game wrong.
There we are. We all played the game wrong. We were all wrong.
Yeah, all
No bad wrong apparently means we were all wrong.
Yeah. We're all wrong. Yeah. I'm not a stickler for the whole 1 minute thing, and it's hit points are basically however you narrate them in combat. To be honest, you can narrate them as little cutting blows or meaty swings or just lucky moments, because people with more hit points can be described as being luckier. It's however you want to do it.
I think my cats are lucky. Look at the size.
Well, good for them.
Just go down the Warhammer routes. Just give your armor an actual number. Every damage that penetrates through the armor reduces the armor value, so on and so on. And then from there, you're going to start having the whole thing of like, okay, you got hit, but your armor saved you, or you were so tough you're able to just brute through the damage that you're taking. That's something else that can be done. That actually shows how it can be, put in. And it's a different set of rules that actually encourages that.
I actually like the not where it's every combat, because then you get GURPS at every second, which I hate that system. But I do like it about a 10 to 15 second round, because that's like, oh, okay, you're positioning, you ready to go, you attack, you do your one thing, and you go back and forth, which is a BX thing more than an AD&D.
I like the BRP interpretation. A turn is a minute, a round is about 10 seconds, therefore there are 6 rounds in a turn.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I like the Call of Cthulhu one. A round is as long as it really takes to do something.
That's one of the downsides of Call of Cthulhu is whenever you're trying to match certain Call of Cthulhu rules to other versions of BRP, you get into everything in Call of Cthulhu is fluid and woo 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 woo, and it's like,
I'm okay with it.
It
something is as long as it needs to be for the action you want to take. That I'm happy with.
Yes. I mean, I'm not a stickler with the whole timekeeping and everything. I'm very, very lackadaisical with that, and some way I in general agree with Bear here. Just it doesn't have to be quite so rigid. Speaking of rigid, Saxius.
Hi.
Hello.
wow. And he takes a shot at you during the introduction. Isn't that nice?
No, that's fine. So, in terms of things I don't like in terms of the rulings, I can go through a huge part of DCC. I find, as a system, this is the most cumbersome piece of shit that I have. And it's just it was a waste of my money. At the end of the day, I open it up every so often to, go through and just get a bit of inspiration from some of the art, some of the general ideas. But I just find that the way it's basically outlined, it's spells.
Is there a specific rule in it though that you dislike, or is it just all of it? Is it just DC?
There's just a good chunk of it, like the whole, like you're going to be rolling when you're going to be casting some of your spells. Just the sheer, like,
See,
Oh,
I
just
like
looking
that.
at some of I'm just looking at like the counter spell now, and it's like roll between 1 to 10, and then you can go above, and it's all over the goddamn shop. No, thank you.
See, I
No.
quite liked the danger and the unpredictability of spellcasting in DCC. That's one of the
Okay.
things that.
Let me put it like this: it's a fucking pain for me to deal with.
That's true,
Do you
yeah.
hear me? It is a pain for me to deal with.
Bear missed that. Do it again for Bear. Do it again for Bear.
That's right.
Hi, Bear. Player's gotta die.
No, that was great, Sax.
What did I have for lunch?
And actually, to be fair, is there's a reason
He's
that
finally busted out the big guns.
Yes.
this is one of the reasons I like some of the VTTs. Is it automates a lot of that stuff instead of having to flip through a lot of books. But to have to use a VTT in a game that's physical, it kind of defeats the purpose, I feel.
I truly hate VTTs. I thought they were going to be a fantabulous time saver and all this. No, because you have to preload everything. So all the time I would have spent running the game, I'm now spending prepping the game to be able to run the goddamn game. I fucking hate VTTs.
I don't
I'm
like
slowly getting rid of them in my games. I only use them for heroic because of the cards, and I have a set of cards loaded in Roll20, so I can give all the remote players cards. That's the only reason I use it anymore.
I think that VTTs work better for journaling than they do is people are turning them into miniature combats, which is what I don't like. And I said, that takes me more time to set that crap up. But I have no problems if someone says, hey, guess what? Here's stuff, and you click on it, you can find the rule, or things like that. That's why I find that they really do well is automating that aspect so the players aren't flipping through books all the time trying to figure out, well, what does this do? Or what does that do? It's like, oh, click on it. Oh, that tells me what that spell does. Or, oh, that tells me that.
Okay, look. If you have the time to invest in a VTT the way they did for the 5th edition D&D stuff,
Oh, yeah.
absolutely brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. It's fully functional. You can run your game. I love running 5e in Roll20 because of all the stuff that's automatically put. Drag it on the character sheet. Now he's got a stupid magic item. Click on it to see what it does. Brilliant. When you step outside of the 5e hyperbubble and you start loading up games like Star Trek Adventures or Call of Cthulhu 7e, the functionality starts to reduce considerably. And then woe is you if you're running a game that doesn't have a compendium created for Roll20 or Foundry or whatever VTT you're using, because now you got to make shit up on your own as you go, look shit up. It's a pain in the ass. I can run a heroic fight with all 4 of you, and we will be tickety-boo, boom, 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 boom. Introduce a VTT, and it will double, if not triple, the amount of time we're going to be running that goddamn fight.
Oh, I agree with you on that. I do. That's why I said I use
agree
them more
as
for
well,
journaling and
I
it's either
don't.
before and stuff. But yeah,
I don't agree with any of this. I don't agree with any of you on this. I think you're all wrong. I think VTTs are absolutely fantastic. Yeah, and I'm not even looking at 5e. I'm just looking at everything else I've been able to do. The amount of journals I can put in, the amount of details I can put in, the character sheets I can upload or generate, the pictures I can throw in, the fact I can take pre-made maps, chuck them all in, just get them quickly to align the grid. Bam! All I have to do now is just go through and put down the fog of war. Why? Because I pay for Roll20. I've got the ability to then go in and then do all of these things. I can even go in. What I've done for my 5th edition game is that each individual token has got their own line of sight. You can't cheat and see what Bob is seeing or see what Tim is seeing. No, you see what you're seeing. You are limited by what you see. You have to now communicate with all the other players, and then that's it. I think VTTs are really good, but it requires you, the DM, to put in the input and the time to become familiar with it. It's not a user-friendly. On that one, I can see it, but it is going to be requiring you to put in the time to learn it. Go on, Bear.
Thank you so much. I would like to point out 2 things. One, he loves Excel. That should answer all your questions about what he just said. This man is an organization tool-using mastermind, and therefore he is always going to appreciate these things. And 2, he enjoys all that stuff he just described doing. I find it tedious, and I just want to get to the goddamn story and the game. So it's a difference. It's just a matter of style. It's not saying one's right and one's wrong.
Okay.
Saxius. It's just
You are wrong.
Okay, I'm going to channel the
Disagree.
inner Saxius. Get back on topic. You know,
We are on topic. We don't
We're
like
on
VTTs.
topic.
They're part of the game. They do rules.
sorry.
Anyway, another rule, if I'm going to be a little more pickier, I'm going to be picking on this lovely thing that I like to drag out every so once in a while. Yeah, so you can see.
Oh, okay.
So in there, it actually has got the whole thing of like, oh, you've leveled up. Congratulations. Now you've got to roll for what you get. Excuse me, what? I've got to just roll randomly for what I get. And again, I'm just looking at what we've got here by Lion and Dragon, and it's just some of it's good, some of it's just like why? Like these are very specific things. Or you can pick one, or you can roll twice. Again, you're incentivized to roll twice and take the risk, but it's a rule I don't like. I find it pointless. I find it disruptive. I don't see the benefit for the player who is going to have to suffer from this. And then they're going to have to sit and go like, oh, well, I've now leveled up and I now know how to horse ride, but I don't own a horse.
I've never been near an actual horse.
Exactly, but I now know how to ride one. It's like, this is ridiculous. And even if you turn around and say, like, okay, well, re-roll it then. Well, why is it on the table?
Hello to everybody who's joined chat in the last 10 minutes or so. We've got Michael Stronghold, we've got Raven, Emerald Fire, we've got Orc Cole, Not Your Echo, Straw Piglet, if I've missed you, Mike Percival, yeah. And anyone I've missed it? Nerds Nerd, anyone new above Nerds Nerd? No. Probably not. So hello if you've joined chat. We are our topic tonight, and hello RPG Grandma. We're talking about things as DMs that we don't like. So what we had Omanal moaning about non-weapon proficiencies in various versions of D&D. Bear
Fighting Omanal on that mountain.
You mean hit points? Hit points. Bear doesn't like hit points.
Hit points and 1 minute rounds.
Points. Unless you do what they do in Marvel and which we do in Heroic, which is include an effect for degrees of success. So you can have that pool of hit points to represent the beating you're taking, but oh my God, that guy got a really cool shot in, make a save or you're taking a wound. Oh, now the wound does X, Y, and Z to you. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to figure out how to work this into my Final Age product. It's coming because I think it's really good. You have the major wound threshold in BRP, and I'm trying to find a way to work with that to introduce wounds into the game.
Yes, that's one thing I like about BRP games is that major wound threshold. I think it's quite effective. So while Saxis is thinking up there,
I think his wife is lecturing him on something.
No, he's staring at his shelf of books.
Yes. Iman, in your limited experience in the games that you've played so far, is there a rule that you really, really dislike?
Not that I can think of. You might have to get back to me on that one, mate. I'll have a think.
Okay. Well, you're just going to sit and smoke and chill and chime in as and when. You're free to chime in whenever you want. Have a think about things you don't like. I know we know you're new. You're the newbie around here. Okay. Things that I dislike. I'm going to start off with Call of Cthulhu. In 7th edition Call of Cthulhu, they've got these chase rules that span a number of pages. That's all to do with if you are 1 action behind, 2 actions behind, 3 actions behind, all that sort of thing. And no. Call of Cthulhu, as we've already said, the rounds are really fluid. The game is very cinematic. It's supposed to be, the resolutions are supposed to be really quick. And as a result, having this sort of sub-game to resolve chases just doesn't fit. I completely ignore it. I've skim read those rules once, thought sod them, and I'm not going to use them. I just use contesting roles of various types, whatever works for the situation.
Like we did last week on the train.
Can I piggyback on this?
Yeah.
One BRP rule I fucking hate with the fiery passion of 1,000 suns because it's so fucking stupid, but people keep telling me to use it when I'm doing my Conan game and stuff. Like, people love this rule. Omanal and I are attempting to hit each other with I've got a sword, he's trying to block with his sword. I roll my sword skill, he rolls his sword skill. Under the basic rules, whoever gets the lowest gets the best degree of success, wins the contest. But if we tie, we then have to see who rolled closest closest to his skill number to be the winner in that contest, which is so fucking counterintuitive to the roll under system that I've house ruled it as whoever beat their target number by the highest won. Or, more importantly, whoever has the highest skill wins in ties because they have the advantage for being skilled.
Better, yeah.
Right? This whole idea of I'm rolling really low, but I want to roll really close to my number, and that's a critical in some versions of BRP is so fucking stupid. It's so gamey.
So Bear will hate this, but I think that Warhammer Fantasy 4th Edition actually solves that by doing success levels, and it's very similar.
I love success levels. Why would I hate
I
that?
do, yeah.
Well, because one
do
time I
as well.
mentioned it, you said you hated everything 4E. I said, oh, okay.
4E. I never said I love 4E. D&D 4E is awesome. What are you talking about? I never said anything about 4E.
Warhammer 4.
I don't play fucking Warhammer. I have no opinion on 1E, 2E, 4E, 10E, or up my ass.
Hey! You just told me that one time. I'll take it with you.
I don't like Warhammer. Period.
Okay,
Warhammer Fantasy is a game I do not enjoy.
No, I was talking about as far as that rule system, exactly the success
No,
levels.
I love degrees of success. There are games that I don't like that have mechanics I like.
Okay. Anyway, that was the whole point. Was that? But I was mentioning that. But I agree with Bear. I like success levels because that favors the person with a higher skill more than the one that gets close. So
exactly.
Something like that, nerd. Yep. Which is so counterintuitive.
It's so counterintuitive.
It also takes a lot of math and time to figure out exactly where stuff is, And
but here's the thing: you've got a 45, I've got a 30. I rolled a 14, but I rolled a 32, but whatever, and you rolled a 44. So you're right on the edge of your skill, but I'm too far from my skill, but not another degree higher. What a nonsense system that is. Nonsense.
Cheers, Grandma.
Grandma.
So hopefully Iman's thinking about all the games he's played. To be honest, you've never really engaged with the rules so much, have you? When you play the games, you just role play your character and get on with it.
Well in Call of Cthulhu, it's different because obviously now I am obviously reading through the Keeper's rule book and I'm getting the rules are sticking now. But with D&D and to a lesser extent, because obviously I actually care about that, is heroic. I'm still trying to grasp those.
Yeah,
but in his defense, other than Saxius, I think he tends to play with me and you, and we are very loosey-goosey with the rules.
Yes,
we don't let the rules get in the way of the game. Whereas I'm sure Saxius is a little more. This is the rule. It says this. Suck a bag of dicks. I'm getting the impression.
No, definitely. But there's also times where I don't remember all the rules. Like when you were telling me about you get punched, you go through all these ones. I sat there and went, I should have found that rule, and I could have used that. I could have beaten Iman's character into death with the amount of walls he would have gone through. But yes.
Oh, the slam damage. Yeah. Yes. But here's the fun thing: how much damage did the hit do?
So 100. The hit itself was at 100.
How much health does he have?
Oh, 100. 90.
Well, I had 90 at that time, yeah.
Did he have any body armor?
No.
Protection? So he immediately took 100 points of damage.
Yeah.
90 was his health. That extra 10, right off of his endurance. So you can literally hit someone hard enough to deplete their health pool if it's a big enough threat and deplete their endurance, which is death.
By the excess.
One shot. You know what I mean? You got to be careful about that too, right?
No.
Hence why players who find themselves in that position should be immediately going for a roll with the blow feat to try and reduce some of that goddamn damage and not get killed. But they don't think about that. They just take the hit and get bounced through walls.
Well, it was that or
you can only do that once. You can only do that once per round, though, right?
Well, you can only be hit by the guy once per round for the most part, unless he's got something that gives him extra.
No, he had 3 attacks. Well, he had 4 attacks that round, and I dodged.
You could roll for multiple attacks.
He did a multi-action. You should have do that, dumbass.
All right, hey John, what rules do you despise?
I've already given my first one. That's the chase rules in Call of Cthulhu because I think they're unnecessary and they don't fit. So
I'm waiting to hear what IQ doesn't like.
Wait a minute. In 1E and 2E, the brawling rules.
Oh,
Oh, that's
combat
good,
in first edition D&D? Oh, fuck that.
Yeah, exactly. See,
Or the
that was-
grappling rules? Oh, dear
yes.
God.
Oh, that's
I didn't even think about that.
they're
Yeah,
horrible. It's like you created a whole separate system. And what's funny is if you actually look at the rules, in certain cases it says, "Oh, a foot will do this and a punch will do this," but then you create a whole separate system for brawling as well. Like, look,
Yeah.
pick one or the other. Jeez, and make it and follow consistently all the way through.
I like the fact that AD&D was a various little sort of sub games, or its own little sort of subsystems. But the brawling stuff just took it one step too far.
So
yeah,
let me bring up one that I don't particularly like. Fifth edition have got attunement. I don't like attunement. I don't like it when magical items you need to sit there and go habita habita habita. Now it's attuned to me. Blah blah blah. Like it's just not what I do. Which is why I like what the weapons of legacy has got, which is where you've got to go through the item and you've got to do rituals. You got to take the weapon through certain purification methods, through certain rituals, through certain acts, through certain moments that will then ignite further and further powers from within. Typically, this is from Weapons of Legacy. These are meant to be legendary items. These are meant to be items that you're meant to be going out and having to do this to unlock it so that it becomes attuned to you and it accepts you as its wielder. I don't like 5th edition where it says, okay, you can just sit down, spend some arcana, or spend, 24 hours, 48 hours, however long it is, and then bam, you've now got that. You can only have 3 of them. That's just not my style as a DM. I've tried to work within the rules of 5th edition. I've quickly found that it just does not work. And the amount of times that attunement comes up because of the way I design my magical items, it just becomes too cumbersome and there's too much of a, you can only have 3, you now got to drop some. It's like, that's not fun for the players. So I'd rather go through the whole thing of you have to now do something extra, making it a bit more of a small adventure.
And the whole idea that you could just spend a long rest cuddling your magic item and in the morning you're attuned to it and you know what it does. It's just that it's dumb to me as well.
Well, I definitely use the identify rules. The whole attunement thing is supposed to be for something else where you get additional powers, additional what have you. But yeah. Does anyone have anything before I proceed on? Because I've got a number of books here in front of me.
Is it going to be another Saxious ranting stream?
I love Saxious ranting streams. They're the best.
Sure. Let's go through it. So there is a Warhammer 40,000 book called Deathwatch. I've got one of the more special editions, but within Deathwatch, you again playing in the Warhammer 40,000 world, and specifically being Space Marines, there is something that's called Renown. Basically, it depends on how legendary your character becomes. This system locks away weapons if you are not legendary enough. If you do not have enough renown, if you've not gone out and done enough daring things, you are not allowed to have the special weapons. No special weapons for you. It is all about you basically having to go out and do these over-the-top things, which, again, that's a part of the game. But then they try to go out and say, oh, but you only get the really cool stuff behind a paywall. What the fuck? What is this? Why are we playing this?
Toy, you like that toy?
Yes, I do. I do indeed, John. I like this. So I don't like it that there is this whole thing of you've got to go out and just like milk a game in order for you to have this obscure thing of like, you've now gone from being a standard Space Marine. You're now a renowned Space Marine. You're now a heroic Space Marine. Oh, fuck off. Please. I would very much like to see my Space Marines with dual plasma guns while he has his jetpack on, flying up into the air, down onto the enemy, going pew, 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 killing some motherfuckers. Because that is what the entire game, the rest of it, lovely. It's set up for you to basically play a god of war until you come to the quartermaster who goes, you don't have the coins for that there. It's like, this, why?
Well,
Of all the
it's because other games require money, and this one they use money the same way. I understand.
Nerds disagrees with you. She's saying you're wrong, Saxious.
I get the point of it, but you are in the Death Watch. The fucking Death Watch. You are already creme de la creme. You are at the top. You are the best. You were either dragged out of your hovel as a space marine and said, you've just got to serve because we got to meet our taxes, or you volunteered to do it because you actually have an axe to grind with all the aliens. So it's one or the other. It makes sense that there's a renowned system because you are going to be going out and doing a couple of things. But again, let me refer back to the Death Watch, a part of the Ordo Xenos. You are literally the military division of one of the more extreme cases of the xenophobic aspects of the 40k Imperium. You are there to rip and tear. You are there to play Doom.
Until it is done.
We bring
go on.
Well, this is why I don't like Dark Heresy. I think works fine, and I think that Rogue Trader works fine. But the other ones, I would say no, just because of, like you said, with limitations. And having been around the military, I'm like, it's not that much fun. Okay, it just isn't. So because you get too much rigid, everything's too rigid for a certain part. So it's like, okay, but no, I agree with you. Yeah, I understand why they did it, but yeah, like you said, the way that they implement it, not so good.
That's where I stand, at least on this one. Otherwise, I think it's a really good game. It's not one that I would ever recommend anyone running campaigns with, because it's pretty much, you go here, you fight this, you learn some other things. Majority of your players are not going to care. They're just going to go, oh, okay, we killed the big bad, we move on. And I've got another book called The Jericho Reach, it's all about like, hey, do you want to fight titans? I mean, titanic monsters. Because we can make you fight that. I was like, no. Now it's going bonkers.
It's okay. I mean, every so often a humble bundle comes up and you get everything for like $10 or $20.
I know. I caved. I've caved more than once. It's fine. Anyway, on the topic of Dark Heresy, let's bring up this one. The Radical's Handbook. I love this book. This book should not be in the hands of players. This book should not be in my hands either. So there's an entire thing in here called the Warlock. Now, again, if you're familiar with 40k, which I know John isn't, if you are playing the Wizard class and you open your third eye to the equivalent of hell, you draw upon its powers and you funnel it through to create your wizardly power. And then there may or may not be consequences to what you do. That's the simplified version. In here, you've then got the Warlock. The Warlock takes all the rules that's been set out and ignores it, and then breaks it, and then just makes this entire class so superior to anything that you would ever play. As a class, it breaks the game. As in, it becomes unplayable. You're going to start like having your arm burst off. It'll mutate into a demon, and you will somehow survive. I don't like the rules or how they have redone the entire ritualistic setups for this class. It just does not fit in for what you're meant to be playing. I get that this entire book,
you would prefer it if USDM just got to pull their arms off and left it at that.
I can already do that without this book. So it's not that difficult. No, but like the Radicals Handbook brings up a lot of cool things, but the problem is if you're playing Radicals, you're playing people who are playing with actual fire, you're playing with your souls and your very minds when you're playing these characters. That's not a good thing. It's a very good book for DMs who needs to go and make some really nasty characters who represents that within the mechanics, but specifically the Warlock that you get to play as. That's just a no. Like that entire concept, that entire ruling that they brought up was just not good enough. They didn't play test it. They didn't test it properly, and as of that,
I think that's the problem with many of the games is they bring out the supplements so quickly that they have not fully play tested it, and it breaks a lot of things. And they do it a lot of times to, well, we just want to sell another book. And that's part of that's why I noticed that most systems are actually really tight at the beginning. And then as they add more things in, and I think this is the problem with third edition was, in many cases, is the players start telling the DM what they're going to be playing, rather than DM saying, hey, this is the game I'm going to be playing, and this is what we're going to limit it by. I'm going to mention something from core D&D, which I love the idea, but I do not like the implementation because you need miniatures and everything else, was the flying rules A, B, C, D, and E for flyers. You remember?
I know what you mean, but I didn't have problems with that. That actually, in an odd way, that clicked in my head. So I was able to go, right, that makes sense. You can do this, you can do that.
Yeah, the idea behind it was good.
Because I played enough. I love the idea of it, but again, the implementation kind of falls flat if you don't have miniatures, because in many cases you're doing you really, unless you want to play an aerial combat game, which is what a lot of, they were assuming that you would grab some other, and I think even the old D&D, it was like, oh, if you're going to do this, go buy this rule system so you can go treat it like dogfighting. And like I said,
the whole idea of fighting on flying mounts against flying creatures is such a cool idea. But yeah, the implementation was wonky. It was wonky.
And that's what I really mean. It's, some cases you love the idea, you love to do it, and then you went, but it just falls flat. When you have to, you're spending more time trying to set stuff up, and you're playing at that point truly a war game instead of the theater of the mind. And I do enjoy the theater of the mind.
No, I
think.
Go on.
Go on, Sax.
No, but again, it's down to how you would be using it. Me using it with miniatures, it could become a bit clunky, but then it was the whole case of okay, you move here, you're able to turn this much, you can move to more, and so on and so on. It just meant that you would have to be a bit more mindful of how you would then move them around. But it's definitely something that's leading more towards theater of the mind of it's a big rock, it's taking a wide turns to come back and do another bomb dive towards you. Anyway, speaking of,
I don't want to stick too long on the Warhammer 40,000.
I've got my last one.
Oh, okay.
Roll trader. Why on God's green earth are you allowing us to play Dark Eldar? Of all the Soul Reaver, of all the races that the players actually wanted, you picked Dark Eldar. Why?
Yeah, I don't know why you picked Dark Eldar over regular Eldar.
Regular Eldar that's the exact point I'm snailing my way towards. Of all the Eldars to play, you should at least play the ones that would have a reason for why you would work with the Imperium. Corsairs make sense. Some of the Farseers make sense. They have a vision of whatever reason. Dark Eldars is just hey, I get to torture people and I get to be sadistic and I'm paid for it. Hope-de-doo. It's just playing a drow in space. I'm sorry, but this just not fly when I run these games. If you're going to be sitting down and be playing a drow in my 40k game, you're going to be doing some terrible shit, and that's going to cause party conflict, and we know how I feel about PvP. So, no, you're not playing that race.
I mean, what's funny is that's the one race they didn't include. They included Kroot, they included Tau, they included Greenskins. And I'm like, oh, okay. And in some cases, you're like, okay, we can do it. But why the Dark Eldar? I'd never understood that one. And they never brought out the Eldar. They never brought out the Eldar in the game.
I've listened to some interviews with the guys who made it, and they said the reason why they didn't bring up the Eldar was because they thought that they would be having another opportunity down the line to do it. And in hindsight, they didn't even bother. I was like, Christ on a stick.
But they did a whole one for the Tau. That's what gets me.
Yes.
If they did a...
I know.
Oh, anyway,
I know.
sorry.
Yeah, I've gone through the quick ones I've got here in a short blast, although I can't go deep more in, but it's primarily me picking on Warhammer since that's the next game.
You are welcome to pick on Warhammer. I've only ever played a few games of Warhammer Fantasy. I don't know anything about 40k or anything like that.
We need to get you into that. See, that world is beautiful. There's, as one of my other players who also ran a Warhammer game, there's nothing more satisfying than telling your players that they characters have now died of dysentery because Warhammer Fantasy facilitates that. That's lovely.
Right. We have been asked a question by Emerald Fire. It's slightly off the topic, but let's answer this. Best system to run a large scale battle.
I'm going to mention this much. I haven't played with it, but I've looked at the rules. It's pretty well done. I'm going to say of the systems I've seen, there are a couple of them in there. It depends on how you want to rule it. One is I enjoyed Star Frontiers when they did the last one of the Volturnus modules, which is the characters play small sections in the battle where they can turn the tide one way or the other, and that helps determine the overall outcome. I like that myself. Right now I've been looking at the Axe system where he breaks it down into units and everything else. I think that I would like to look at more of Axe. I haven't played with it, but I think of all the role-playing games out there, I think he's done some of the best job for breaking it out into making units and everything else.
Yeah.
That's what I would suggest for now to look at. I can't say 100% one way or the other. The problem is that when I do war games, I like to do war games, and I actually got into Warhammer Fantasy battles from Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay on the hope that we could do it, but it never scaled up well, was the problem I had with it. So I think that what Alexander Macris has done with Axe, I would go look at that one. I think he's got some free versions called Domains of War, and you might want to look at how he does that. But in the book, if you want to create a unit, he tells you how to create units and everything else, and gives them all the statistics and everything. And so I would recommend people look at that one for the moment.
Bear, do you run any large-scale battles, or do you?
So I was never a war gamer, so I don't give a fuck about that shit. Like, I just don't care about it. Nothing is more boring to me than the idea of running a large-scale battle. That is just tedious. But to speak about games I do like and mechanics I do like, when Decipher released their Lord of the Rings game back in the early 2000s, they had to include some sort of way to handle mass battle because of the Plains of Pelennor, right? Like, players might want to play an event like that. And they gave a really great system on just roll some dice for how things are going, but then punch in on the hero characters and what they're doing in those specific moments. And it's much more interesting that way. I think people who want to mix large-scale battle with role-playing, it's kind of trying to like do role-playing battle tech. You know what I mean? Like, hey, we're at the bar, we're drinking, but now we got to jump into our big chompy robots and break out a map and put pieces down and have that big fight that's going to take up the rest of the day. I think I prefer much better to make it about the characters, punch in like a heroic thing and see what's going on. I do not run mass-scale battles, to be honest.
I mean, I know Sorian's mentioned he didn't like battle system. I've got both 1A and 2E battle system, and I've quite enjoyed playing with them. But in terms of incorporating player characters into the battles, it's not something I've ever done. These were just one-offs to test the rules. When I was running 5E a little while ago, and long before when WotC were putting out some remotely decent things on their Unearthed Arcana section on their website, they put out some 5E hybrid mass battle rules, and we tried them, and we ran a mass battle as the finale for a campaign. But what we did is we broke it down and focused in on the player characters at specific moments, as Bear has already mentioned. So there were certain things going on that could turn the tide of the battle, affect how the bad guys were being commanded, all that sort of thing, and it worked. We got it all done pretty quickly. The rules were nice and fluid that they came up with, which is odd for WotC as far as I'm concerned, but that they worked well. I don't know why they never made it into print, because they were for me, they were the best version of D&D mass battles that I've seen. I played one Birthright mass battle. I wasn't overly enamored with it. Someone's mentioned Birthright earlier. I wasn't overly enamored with it. But no, that 5e supplement, that's probably disappeared now, actually worked. It actually worked. had enough flexibility for me to run my little set pieces with the player characters attacking the generals and that sort of thing, and what have you. But no, I enjoyed playing that. I think that version of Battle System is better than the box set, which you see behind there, because that's smoother. But I can understand how you wouldn't play the player characters.
I'm going to ask you guys a quick question, because in the first edition, they said, "Oh, if you're going to do mass battles, use chainmail." Has anyone ever played chainmail?
No.
In the group?
No.
Never touched Zero Edition. So I have no idea. Anyway, let me ask a counter question to this. What is large scale? Like, are we talking about like just a field, or are we talking planetary? Are we talking galactic? Because
it becomes large scale when I think you're commanding sort of units rather than individuals.
So I've gone anywhere from the what's it called, Mountain Blade style warbands, where the players were commanders, chiefs, and the likes. With basically, I had the players run around. They had 15 to 20 hirelings that tagged along with them. Why? Because they wanted to go out and make money and fight orc warbands and take their money. So that's what we did when we've done combats like that. They were fun. What I realized is that I needed to recheck how I would be doing the XP evaluation, because we had a big battle, and once we totaled out and divided out all the XP, we found that every player basically got between 8 to 12 XP, and everyone sat there and went, "What?" I was like, well, "You've got so many followers, all of them are taking a share of the XP." It's like, "Oh, we don't like this anymore." It's like, well, we're going to need to recheck this. I've also done the whole case of the players getting 3 major factions and basically going, "Okay, make them fight," and then sit there and watch it. And me being me going, "Of course I'm going to play all of this out in front of you with real dice, with my Excel tables to cover it all, to quickly tag off everything." And I found it hilarious. They enjoyed hearing all the shenanigans I got up to, because I just thought, okay, everything's off. I can go full brunt, full hilt. It's going to be hilarious. I've done Birthright. I've done similar cases. Recently, I've been promoting a lot of Sea No Mean products. If you want to do, anywhere from the fantasy kingdom versus kingdom battles, you can run it that way and simulate it, or you can go into Stars Without Number and you can have your interplanetary combat with spaceships and orbital bombardments and cluster bombs being dropped down upon the planets. Lovely stuff. Hell, I've gone down and I've turned my role-playing game into a war game in Rogue Trader, when the players decided that they wanted to sell their forces out as mercenaries for a combat. Took us about 4 sessions of 4 hours each time for them to slowly move in and do a couple of wins to break the enemy, but we had fun.
So I'm gonna mention this much when people are talking about it. When you're talking about large scale battles, I don't view that as once you're at the interplanetary level, because I actually find it easier to do the role playing when you're like at the, well, I want to say like when you're at the 10,000 kilometer range.
Yeah.
Because at that point you're dealing with personalities of your individual commanders, not the actual battle itself. So now you start getting a lot of diplomacy and things of that sort, which is where I find that more interesting for this. I agree with Bear. If you're going to be doing mass battles, I want them to be relatively quick. I want them to go through this. I want to focus in on where the characters matter. And, it's like, you guys you're the heroes, you're turning the tide of battle. But, if you're going to be playing something similar to a World War II game where you're playing Omar Bradley, you're not dealing at the tactical level. You're dealing at the level of, hey, who do I have to deal with so I can get these units over here or this over there? And honestly, at that point, you're probably better off playing a battle game anyway. I think BattleTech in some cases, the problem was it never went high enough. They did a few of them, but I would like to see much more of the Galactic Empire. It's like, well, you fought on this world. And then say, okay, did you give enough logistics? And the answer is no. Then you say, okay, well, guess what? So-and-so lost this. It doesn't require a lot of mechanics to do that because you can make it interesting. But yes, but once you start getting into it, it becomes its own game. once you start doing the actual command, oh, does this move over here, and how does this battle go? And it's like, oh, okay, you can do that, but I'm not sure that the players really want to do that in most cases. And like, okay, I want to lead the warriors over to here. All right, great. But I only need a few rolls in the background telling me how the battle's going and how my characters can change it. That's what it comes down to. But to do, what is it, 20 hours of gaming, the old Napoleonics where you had the people going through and rolling stuff.
These miniatures are 9 inches apart. No, they're 9 inches and 1/16. You're now out of range. Yes. I disagree with this tape measure. They're 9 inches. No, my tape measure. No, yeah, all that sort of stuff.
I know. I like no. That's why I do Theater of the Mind. It's like 75 yards. Well, I always find it funny. It's like, well, it's 74 yards. You're short, but it's 76. You're long. You know what? You're somewhere in that. You're close enough to where I'm going to say it's medium range.
That takes me into one thing I've got here as something rules I hate and how a game fixed it. And I've said many a time on these streams, I do not like playing D&D on a board with grids and squares and counting all that sort of stuff. I don't like treating it as a tactical war game. As a result, I played one session of 4E D&D. I played a whole campaign of 13th Age. Any of you familiar with 13th Age?
Yes.
Not really. I mean, I never played it. I've only read whatever the description says in the little box.
It's very much the core mechanics of 4E, but they've stripped out the need for miniatures and squares. You have ranges of near, medium, and far. And that's just it. That's how ranges worked out. Near, you're in melee. Medium, you can throw things at them. Far, you can see them in the distance. There you go. That's all it needs. And that made the system work so much better.
Well, Mutineer Zero does that. The Free League, stuff like that. I think also the Modipia stuff. They've all started going towards that where you kind of say, is it short? Is it melee? I will say a rule that I do not like on the way that I hear that it spirals out is for Alien, where the stress keeps stacking up so players never knock themselves down. It's like, oh, this stress gets reduced, but then this person screams, so then everyone's stress goes up, and then this person screams, that causes that stress to go up, and it doesn't feel organic enough. And hopefully they may fix that in the second edition, but it works fine if there's one other player in there. But if you get a group, it causes like everyone to become catatonic too quickly.
I can see that. Yeah,
the rule itself is cool, but sometimes you have to go over and say, all right, we're going to limit it in a certain way, or we have to modify it because it can spiral completely out of control to the point where it makes no sense.
So, Saxius, I know you quite like playing on a board with miniatures.
Yeah.
I don't.
I know.
I don't at all.
Well, yes.
It's much more fun, much more imaginative to play without them.
No, I disagree.
At every opportunity, I will bin the miniatures.
That's fine.
I will bin the miniatures.
That's fine.
As someone who
you could do that. That's when you run the games, not when I run the games.
Yes.
As someone who has rolled 2-inch dice this big on the table, the only problem I have is that they tend to knock the miniatures over just because the table shakes. Not because I'm hitting miniatures, but it's an earthquake all into itself.
Yeah. That's why I think my 5e group, without really saying it, they've all gone out and they've bought trays like this so that they can roll them without causing any problems.
Oh no!
I know. I've got to get used to miniatures in your games. Oh, we've lost him on.
Depends. I mean, I'm not so rigid that I wouldn't adjust to what group I'm in. I didn't use miniatures when I took you through Shadow of the Demon Lord.
No,
that was pure Theater of the Mind.
Yes.
When I'm taking you through Heroic, I'm not going to be asking you to be doing miniatures because there's no point. It's a superhero game. You're meant to be flung around like a ragdoll, and you'll enjoy it.
Elfbait's been stirred into commenting. Miniatures and grids do not make a game less imaginative and engaging.
I do want to argue on that point, but I know Bear has got a point he wants to make since I've mentioned the holy word.
Heroic?
Yes.
Is that the holy word now?
That is indeed the holy word. But before we get on to that, I do need to remind people that there's a wonderful Patreon that is created by BAM, who provides fantastic opportunities for you to not only support this product, but also get some amazing characters, villains, heroes, and some unaligned. Plus, if you take the time into doing it, you're going to be sitting there for at least 3 hours just downloading everything that he's made for you. It's awesome.
And then you'll use it in your games against Imon.
Yes.
Heroic does have miniatures rules and battle map rules, but you can also theater of the mind. It's either, depending what you prefer. So in the battle map rules, we break everything down by squares, right? So if I'm moving this fast, I can go this many squares per turn, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. 5-foot squares, 10-foot squares. That's up to you to decide. We say 5, but you can make them 20-foot squares for all I care. But if you don't, we use ranges. Melee, point blank, close, medium, long, short, long, medium, long, extreme long, beyond visual. You know what I mean? Like they're and there's some actual powers and talents that refer specifically to those ranges, such as fast exit. A character with fast exit is allowed to attack, boom, and then immediately be one range away after their attack, because they're able to just move that fast, right? Now, a lot of speedsters are going to have that, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I tried very hard to make both options available for everybody, so that way the minis people will be happy, and the people who don't want minis also get to have the same level of coverage.
I will say this much in the pro miniature thing is, as a kid, I think we had more fights over positioning, not ranges, where we were in relative positioning.
Oh God, that's players being dicks.
We were having more fights over that as kids. Whereas, again, I don't need exact distances. That's the thing I hate, where people, and again, I know we talked a little bit about VTTs. That's the one thing that I really hated, where people try and get exact distances. And I said, stop it. Either like you said, either you're point blank, melee range, or you are short, medium, long, extreme. And that's all I care about. Just show me where the circle is, and then everything's relative positioning. That's all I really cared about. It's like, are you in front? Are you behind? Or in the side? Okay, good. We're done. and it speeds it up for putting things down on the board too, if you're going to be using miniatures. But I do not want to. Otherwise, it's a miniature war game. And don't get me wrong, I love miniature war games. I love war games as a whole. However, that's not what I want when I'm doing my role-playing game.
I believe this is a donation on Bear's channel.
Oh,
Bear,
wow.
Yay! Thank you so much, Emerald Fire. Appreciate that. I can't
Awesome,
make
guys.
it pop up, but there it is. Awesome, guys. Thank you for the
Awesome,
insight on that. While I don't prefer war scenarios, I do like when my character runs into the occasional war.
And keep it occasional. Yeah, that's the thing. Keep them occasional. As a change.
Yeah, but I've always said if your fantasy campaign doesn't have a war going on, you're not representing a real medieval society, because there was constantly war going on in medieval societies. Where do you think all the first level fighters come from in your D&D campaign?
And they all say veteran at first level, which is what people forget about. It's like you are not some kid just off the farm. You literally have been through combat for at least a
they're
campaign.
just titles. They're just titles. Hello, Richard.
Anyway, on the point. Go on. I was going to say, on the point of miniatures and having them on and making use of that, I can't agree with you, Geek, purely because I think it adds a lot of dynamic. It means that the players now have to look at what is presented before them. I'm going to use VTTs because that's what I primarily use, and that means I put a lot of detail down there. They're going to be looking at where the bushes are. They're going to be looking at where the rocks are. There's going to be moments of like, okay, I'm going to get up here, going to do a quick climb check, get on top, jump down, do an attack, get advantage, get a bonus because I now have height advantage because of all of these things. Same thing, I'm going to position my ranger around so I can do a couple of shots and then dive headfirst into this shrubbery so that I'm out of line of sight. These are wonderful things that then inspires the characters to go, right, we're now going to do this cinematic moments where we are trying to fight, get around, and do these hack and slash, but there's a very clear visibility of what's going on at the same time.
And I can now move 6 squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh no! If I go this way, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yes,
or
no, but John,
1, 2,
it's literally
3,
no
4.
different than you using your theater of mind, because you're sitting there and going like, okay, he can run 30 feet going this far. I know the distance between here and here. That means it covers the same. It is no different. You're still doing the same basic principles of moving them closer. The only difference is that it's happening up in here for you, whereas for me, it's happening in front of everyone so they can see what's going on.
I don't tend to fuss about precise movements. That's the thing. I don't care if it's 30 or 40 feet. If you can move 30 feet, yeah, I'll let you have it.
So to be fair on this, when we are using variable time spans for rounds, it's not as critical. Like it's like, okay, a lot of times stuff is quiet, and sometimes things are super violent and they're short. So take what it needs to be. But no, yeah.
That's
John,
an automatic thing.
What MERP rule do you not like?
What MERP rule do I?
What
I'm
MERP
just wondering.
rule do I not like? I'll jump in.
I'm just noting that there's been a banning in chat. I don't know what.
There was someone in my channel whose comments have been hidden from the channel, but apparently in StreamYard they still show up. And this person just comes in and likes to make stupid statements like the one they just made about medieval was the first era of BBW, fat sexy bitches. It's like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Go stroll and play somewhere else. You're not welcome.
Fair enough.
Zero welcome in. Now I can't remember their name, but because I can't see them in the chat, I've already hidden in YouTube their comments from the channel. Now that they're showing up, we see, because we'll see people that we've banned in the StreamYard chats.
Right.
Now that I got them here, fuck them, get out.
All right. So
now back to why MERP sucks. Go ahead, Jug.
For me, I like a lot of the tables, but I think there is a slight, more than a slight, over-reliance on them. And there's a number of sort of resolutions in the game where you're meant to refer to maneuver tables. And I often throw those out in heat of the moment type actions where I want things to go quickly. I want things to feel more cinematic. So I just use contested rolls instead of those tables. If you're trying to get away from somebody, I should be like, okay, that will be a moving maneuver with such and such a difficulty. No, I'm just going to do, you roll that and modify it by your moving maneuver. I'll roll it, modify it by their moving maneuver. Who gets the highest total? Okay. Just do contested rolls instead. It just makes it go faster. So I've thrown out some of MERP's tables. Not all of them. I use a lot of them, but just some of them.
So I was doing Against the Dark Master, which is a modern interpretation of MERP. And man, oh man, those tables got in the way and slowed down the game. And then they led to the moment that made me go, fuck these tables. James's character was a halfling ranger, for lack of a better term, and the bad guys had their partners tied up and were and one of them was holding up a sword, and he goes, okay, I'm gonna shoot the guy that's about to hit her, and I'm blah blah blah. I'm like, okay, great. And he rolls the best possible hit you can get. The highest number he could generate, he generated, which gives him a plus 80 or whatever on his critical hit. Great. Goes to the critical hit and rolls the lowest possible critical he could. So, amazing shot. Nicks the guy's forearm. I'm like, this is fucking stupid. Because it just broke the narrative all of a sudden. Now, if this was a major villain or something, you could make a narrative out of it. But it was just a fucking goon. That arrow should have gone right through his eye socket and come out the back of his fucking head. But the game mechanic got in the way of the narration. So I will always say there are two things that will trump rules every time for me. Setting and scene. Unless what the rules did causes the scene to become improved through setback or advancement. Not just, well, that was a fucking damp squib. You know? That's not fun. That's not heroic. That's not exciting.
Yeah,
I don't play Warhammer, by the way.
Well, and you can feel sometimes the player, he gets really excited, and it's like, and then they just kind of just like tune out. sometimes.
Well, I don't call for
Yeah.
roles unless they're needed, right? I don't
Right.
call for a role unless there's like a dramatic aspect to it or it's going to cause something to happen. So if the game's going to, if I'm going to, well, yeah, but that's how fights go. Yeah, but I don't roll all that often, right? Like unless they're in an actual fight, they don't do a lot of rolling. It's more like, every now and then make a check and see what happens. So when the game gets in the way of that, I will not like those rules. And hence, I always have said and always will say, Rollmaster, MERP against the Dark Master, everything about that game system is amazing, except for the fucking tables. And that's why back in the day,
Oh,
we
has
used to
he
call them
fucking
card
come
games.
back?
What?
Yeah,
Now he's in your chat, Yogi.
But this comes back to one of the things we talked to in one of the previous ones,
Oh,
which
you're
is
gonna spam. All right,
which-
grow up,
which
you
is-
knobhead.
which is what people don't follow, which is they don't actually follow the rules. Like, well, I'll just roll a perception check. It says you're only supposed to roll when it's critical or important to the game. And all too often people just roll because what they're trying to do is they're trying to think of something to do. So it's like,
Mhm.
you know what? You find it. If the key's hidden under the bed, if you pick up the mattress, you find the damn key. Don't roll a perception roll. This is not like the milk in my refrigerator where I somehow miss it when it's directly in front of my face. It's-
Well, there's a lot of school of thought on the
Yeah.
perception role, and the perception role I think is one of the much maligned things about role playing because the old school says, "Well, don't make a roll. Tell me what you're looking for in the room." Okay, so now I've hidden the key to the vault underneath in a secret compartment in the fourth leg of the chair, leaning up against the books. And they look at the room, and I said, "There's a couple of chairs there. There's a desk," and they search everything. But none of them says, I searched the legs of the chair or I searched those chairs for hidden compartments. Well, fuck, that was a waste of time. Now they've just spent 20 minutes searching everything, but they've got no fucking further way. And people who argue for this type of thing are playing a game where there's a spot secret doors roll.
Yeah, but no. What I'm referring to in this case is, again, where it's like, well, I'm going to do this. We'll roll a perception check. And in my view on that is, you automatically succeed in most things if you're actually doing a thorough search. That's what I'm.
Never make the players roll
Yeah.
for something that if they don't succeed will grind the adventure to a halt. If they need that clue to move forward, ask them what they're doing and then narrate them discovering the clue.
I think
Exactly.
the point there is if they do say they're searching the exact right bit, then they'll automatically find it. Otherwise, have them make a roll.
Sure,
Yeah.
that whatever, but never have pass fail on something like a perception check or a skill check be what stops the adventure from moving. That's
Right,
my first
yeah.
review.
Yeah.
Now,
I
if you're in
mean,
a game that has a mechanic for rerolls, then that's okay. Because then you can have the roll, because if they fail, they can re-roll, right? They can have a way of re-rolling. But your mechanic for re-roll needs to have this little caveat in it. One of the things I liked in 5e, when you spent an inspiration to re-roll that d20, no matter what that die came up, if it was under 10, it was 10. So it increased the chance for them to succeed in that situation. Because I got a player, he can spend fucking luck points all day long for re-rolls. He's going to fail every one of them every time. And that's just a wasted mechanic and a wasted currency on him, right? So make sure that the re-roll says, if you roll less than a success, you get a basic success if you're using, fucking degrees of success or whatever the case may be. Otherwise, it's just a wasted mechanic, in my opinion.
Brian mentions a point here. I mean, I saw someone mentioned social mechanics earlier, and I think we could come to that. I used to be of the mindset where I wanted the player to do all the role playing, and then I'd base the role based on how they role played. I'm now of the mindset where I would rather them tell me what they want to do, make the role, and then role play the result of the role. If they've rolled badly, then I want them to role play them trying to persuade someone badly. I want to. I prefer it that way round.
So what I
don't.
prefer is, in this case, is tell me what you want to do and how you want to convince them, and I will alter the role plus or minus, depending on what you do. Because look, some people are, and our community has a lot of autists, in it or autistic tendencies. And they aren't necessarily, and I'm not saying I'm the best stuff either. So if I'm trying to convince someone where some people are just fantastic orators, well, look, I want to look at your charisma and tell me what you're trying to do and as you're going through. And I want to modify it on that. Is I don't want people to be limited by their real world skill when their character isn't doing that. And then I also don't want them to, I also don't want someone that has their, but that's what I'm trying to say is for me is tell me what you're doing. If you suddenly go over and I get so mad about players doing this, well, I have an 18 charisma, so I'm going to insult the king to his face. Are you sure you want to do that? Which is the favorite DM question when you're doing something stupid. And they always say, yeah, I'm going to do that. Then they get mad when I say,
if they come up with a good idea, and then I will. They can have modifications to the role, but once the role has landed, I like them to role play the result. And yes, if they're not the most imaginative, if they're not the most confident, I will soften to them. I won't be. I mean, I will, but I want the good role players to really lean into this. I like them to lean into it.
I go the opposite route where you come out with what you want to do, and I will look at your character. And if you then say, "Okay, I really want to roleplay this," sounds great. Might give you some bonuses if I think it's a point that will appease the character, not whether you are good at making a narration or whether you are good at acting in front of me, because I will distill whatever it is that you say down to what are you saying to that character. Does that character get moved by what you say? Because then that means that I can use that same methodology towards someone who says like, okay, well, I want to approach them. I know he's a family man, so I'm going to mention that this is about his kids, his wife, all of these other things. What can I do? Like, can I roll a charisma for that? It's like, yeah, absolutely. And you made up some really good points. I'll give you a +3 for that roll. Roll it out, and then I role play out the reaction of the character from there, and then so I take it down that way because sometimes you will have.
I like the role playing to continue after the roll, though. I don't want to be. I don't. What I'm saying, I don't always like it to be it ends at the pass or the fail. I think it'd be nice if, for example, the player failed and then role played the results of the failure, or succeeded and then role played the results of the success.
I also can bring up one other thing though, which is if you're going to be doing that, it's funny because players may have no problems rolling 10 or 15 times for rolls in combat, but to do an influence check, well, I just roll once. Like, no. You many times are going to, and this is one of the reasons I do like where they have an axe, you can change the disposition of the character, but every time you roll, it takes longer and longer to do so. So like the first one might be, your first impression. And then it's like after 10 minutes.
Tui had that.
Yeah,
Tui
exactly.
had that in its reaction rolls.
And that's what I'd rather have is it slowly shifts into being favorable or not. And it takes a while. And the other part is the king may only have 10 minutes. Well, guess what? You only get 2 rolls. That's it, which is true in like real life. Then you're not going to sit there talking forever to the president. You have this X amount of time, do it, and then maybe again later on you can roll again, but that might be a month or 2 later. So, people don't suddenly change their minds. You have to slowly work them over, and get their kind of confidence and stuff.
Well, it's also like what I try to then distill it down to is, what are the players trying to do? Are they trying to, make a major change of an NPC's personality? In which case it's like, well, you can roleplay it all out. You can roll as many dice in front of me. You're not changing a core part of what that character is made out to be, unless you're going to be sitting down and spending months, if not years, of like getting into their inner circle within their heart or their mind at least. If you're trying to convince someone for like an in the moment, like we need to do something in here that will be in some way that they see as either being beneficial or in contribution to a greater cause that they support. Okay, well that might change things, but it's all to do with like what is the situation. It's not going to be a case of like but that's why I take all the situations and I dilute down to what the points are and where the NPCs line up versus that. But then again, I take most of this and I basically go, right, role play it out. I'll give you a mathematical bonus, and then that's it. I've taken what you've done, I've put it down into bullet points from me because that's how I wanted to receive it. And then people who go on.
I'm going to mention one thing because we're talking about rules that we hate. In second edition, you get bonuses to your reaction roll. But
Yep.
if you actually look at the table, the lower the roll, the better the reaction. Like
Yeah.
guys, you couldn't make sure that you're to either flip it or do subtraction, something of the sort. The fact that they did that, and you had to realize that just bugged the hell out of me. It's like, why
Hey,
did you
it's-
yeah, it
Yeah.
was someone didn't do proper editing for that in the
No,
roll.
no, that's just editing, as you said. But yeah,
I
mean,
thought of something,
Go on.
John. I actually thought of something.
You did. Good.
Yeah. The way the penalty die works in Call of Cthulhu can be really harsh, but also really nice. And I think the disparity can be quite off-putting if you want to do like a bonus action, for example. Because you think, all right, I could roll a 19, but then it could just easily become a 99.
True.
yeah.
So to build on that, one of the things I'm doing with Final Age, because I'm using BRP and I'm intending to use Call of Cthulhu 7 as my most base version, is I got rid of the bonus dice idea because of things like that. And instead what I did was I just changed it. I said, okay, we're going to use an advantage-disadvantage mechanic. What? No. If you have advantage, your difficulty class goes up by 1, so it becomes easier to do the task. If you have disadvantage, it gets harder to do the task. So I use 100%, 50%, 25%, 10% or less of your chance, right? So what if you already have it at 100%? Well, okay, now you're going to get a bonus of 10. You had advantage, great, add 10% to your chance. So if you're trying to roll under 70, now you're trying to roll under 80. Let's keep going. Because I was looking at those bonus dice, what you just specifically mentioned, Iman, I'm like, this is too swingy. This is way too swingy. It can defeat advantage and it can defeat adversity by having the dice be dice and do chaos things. You know what I mean? I'm like, I want people with advantage to feel advantaged. I want people with disadvantage to feel disadvantaged, right?
Right, guys, I'm gonna.
Yeah, exactly, Nerds Nerd. If you're at the very lowest level, if you're at the 10% level and you have disadvantage, well, guess what? You need to get a 0-1, a critical, to succeed now. Otherwise, you're going to fail at the task. So there's always hope, but don't get cocky at all.
It's bleak hope. It's faint hope. It is
literally a Hail Mary.
Grasping at straws.
It is a candlelight in a hurricane.
All right, guys, I'm going to head off. I need to go do my exercise before I get started. So you all take care.
Take it easy, mate.
Cheers, Eminel.
But yeah, did you guys hear that? There's something that I don't 100% like about Call of Cthulhu.
I'm sure if we subject you to more rules, you'll find something.
The more you get into it, you'll find rules you don't. Every game, look, there is no such thing as a perfect game.
Correct.
Not even when you write yourself, right? You're going to run into problems, you're going to run into issues, and there's going to be rules you don't like. That's why house ruling is a long, tried and true standard of our hobby. Yeah, that's a great rule, but I'm doing it this way. As long as you tell the house rules up front, great. And there have been times in a game where we've been playing and a rule has come up that just makes us all go, what the fuck? All right, quick house rule on the fly. We're going to do this instead. Everybody agree? Yeah, great. Okay, and keep going.
Yeah.
The goal of the rules should be, in my humble opinion, to get the fuck out of the way of the game. Or, through their existence, enhance the gameplay by adding tension, stress. Oh, what's going to happen? Oh, you know what I mean? But when the rules just start getting into the goddamn way and grinding everything to a halt, we're in trouble.
Right.
That being said, it's not that I don't like it. It's just I tolerate that for the sake of the fact that I like the rest of it.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to throw out a rule that I love, but also one that I don't like at the same time. It's an oxymoron. I love material components, and I love because it brings out a whole different dynamic. But what I don't like is that, as you said, Bear, it is where the entire tone of the campaign drastically changes because the wizards, as well as the clerics, are now going to be dominating even more because they require to go whenever you come to a town. Like, we now need to scrounge through all of these resources, or we now have to go out and we have to start like ghouls just tear apart these bodies like we are, cadaver mutilators. Yes, but like there's a point of where it's like, okay, we're now 2 levels into the dungeon, and we're stopping it every single time because you need all of the eyelashes, and you need to shave off all of these things, and you need to get the innards of this so that you can lure in this other aspect. Some of it I like about it, but it changes the tone, and I don't like the rules because me finding players that are willing to let me run through games where I can enforce this is so hard. It's a rule I love. It's a rule that adds a lot into the game, but it's also a rule that drives players away from my table, and I need them to be bound to that table and roll dice.
Saxes, I thought, here was me thinking that someone who plays a mage at your table will get bonus XP if they create a spreadsheet to track all their.
I've already done that.
You've already done it, right?
I've already done that. What are you on about?
Did you forget who you were talking to there, John?
It's just John. Who do you think you're talking to? It's me.
Is that a button you press on your camera to do that?
No, I've set up hotkeys so that it will zoom in every single time. You can do this with OBS.
Oh, you use OBS to connect?
Yeah, I've connected my OBS to my webcam that's now connected to Streamlab.
Oh, look at you.
Let me translate that to the UK. I had a buddy of mine, sidetrack just real quick. A buddy of mine, Gertch, he's a Canadian RCMP officer. He's Sikh, wears the turban. Great guy. He came back from England. He goes, man, British drivers are really fucking mean. I'm like, why? He goes, well, you let them in and they yell at you. And I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, well, you're driving, let them in. And then they go in. And I'm like, hey, okay, peace, man. And I'm like, no, Gertch, in England, that doesn't fucking mean peace. You were telling them in and telling them to go fuck themselves at the same time. What's wrong with you? It's like, oh, really? Shit. I'm like, yeah. Turn it around. That's peace, you dumbass.
That explains why they're all pissed off.
Yeah. Plus, on top of it, he's brown, right? So now you're getting the double whammy for some people of he's a bad driver and he's a foreigner. Like it was too funny. Anyway, sidetrack. Back on topic.
Joy. But yeah, so I do like that aspect of it. It does add a lot into it. But again, I'm going to use my Saturday group because one of the players there said that he wouldn't play in the game if I was going to be enforcing the material components, and I'm glad that I didn't enforce it because he's a good player. I love some of the things he did. He had some fantastic ideas, some fantastic role playing, but it's again one of those things. It's a rule that I love, but it actively discourages certain players from being in my table. So it's a double-sided sword.
Yeah, but as we were talking about collaborating with players, we have things that we like, but we do have to sometimes jettison those and say to the players.
I got something else, and I'm very happy with what I got in instead, because it took me a while, but I did eventually find how long it actually takes wizards to learn spells in 2nd edition, and it's about 2 days per level. I managed to basically squeeze in, we're going to do 1d4 days per plus spell level, which then forces the wizards to then say, right, we need to have specific times where we, the wizards, learn our spells in safety. We're not doing it while in the dungeon because we will be hit by random encounters while we sleep.
They're organizing a study group.
Yes, and I will attack them while they sleep. I will disrupt their study times.
That's a given.
Naturally that means that they cancel out all the time that they've done it, and they've got to restart. I love that. Again, it's why I absolutely 100% would tell any DM, print out the calendar. Mark down when they start their studying. Mark down when they begin putting down the money for their castle, their fort, their whatever tower. And then as it goes along, make sure that you get open your castle guides and you start rolling in for this, because this is lovely. These are rules that makes players cry.
I don't even track time properly in my Call of Cthulhu campaign. I let one of the players do that. I'm always asking Andy, what day is it?
My God, John. My
Are
God.
you here to run a game or fuck around? Which is it?
Yeah. Both. Both.
Clearly, according to Saxis, it's just fuck around.
Yeah, sorry,
I do
I've
both.
already categorized it. I'm about to notarize it. Here we go.
No, I
Notarize
mean
my
the time
stamp.
frames do make sense for the things that we do. It's not
Yes.
like, okay, looking in a library for one specific piece of information takes all day. If we don't find it within 2 hours, we're going to do something else.
Yeah.
No,
I wing it. I wing it based on what you do.
If we're in combat, it doesn't take 2 hours. It takes probably 10 minutes.
If that.
Not of in-game time, not in real time.
If I had my way, it would take a minute of real time every time. Right. My next
if you were
one.
Zaxius, it would be 1 second because you just killed you all.
Yes. My
you
next
enter the library, you all get shot.
We're going back to AD&D for this one for
Looks
rules
all
I
everybody
jettison. Going back to AD&D for this one for rule I jettison. I don't use AD&D surprise and initiative
Why?
because it's a ball ache. Gets in the way.
Surprise.
Yeah.
I use basic D&D surprise and initiative.
What's the difference?
Okay.
2 in 6 surprise. Straight 1d6, no modifiers for initiative.
2E,
Group
1 to
initiative.
3, you're surprised. 4 and above, you're not surprised. Modified in accordance to the monster or the situation. You've got a 30% chance of being surprised on a standard.
I just use the d6 from basic D&D. 2 in 6.
D6, D10, you're using the same thing. There's just a wider variety of it. You said 1 to 2.
I was referring to 1A here. 1A surprise where you get surprise segments.
Yeah, you
Wait,
also
what?
have a
Yeah.
surprise round in 2nd edition, which is just a free round for the players.
Yeah, but in 1A you got multiple rounds. But depending on how many segments you won by.
Oh, fuck off with 1E in their segments.
That's what I got rid of.
Just fuck off. Listen, I own the books. I do not like 1E. Like, I only have it for the sake of saying, right, I've got them. I can see the history of it. I know where I am rooted deeply, and that's 2nd edition, where all the improvements are.
I mean, I prefer 2E's surprise to 1E's surprise, but I just like the simple D6 of basic D&D. D6 for surprise, D6 for initiative, and go with group initiative. I prefer that to individual. So there you go.
I like individual initiative. You know why? Because group initiative never gives you the great moment of Iman's character goes. He does this amazing thing. He looks at Saxius' character and goes, see, that's 4 for me. And before Saxius goes, the orc behind Iman stabs him through the throat.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun. Drama.
Yeah, no, I've actually had
Okay, everybody on your side go. All right, cool. Now it's the other side's turn. Here we go. Okay,
I like group initiative. I think group initiative encourages teamwork.
Well, to quote the person who just chatted, you're wrong.
I'm not a DM, but I will disagree. I think individual initiative is better.
Thank you. But yeah, like, I will throw in individual initiative. I'll take weapon speed. I'll take spell speed. Take all of that in, because why?
I don't want any of that.
I want you to be tactical. If you're going to be wielding a great weapon, you're going to be slower. Well, and then that's it.
I handle that the best way possible by giving weapons qualities, and then those qualities affect things. So, like the slow weapon, you go last in the round. Too bad. Whether you're using side or not, you go last because you got a slow ass weapon.
That's in basic D&D.
Well, that's what OSC is.
Yeah. OSE's. OSC gets it right as far as I'm concerned.
I stand by
OSC is basic. OSC initiative is basic D&D initiative.
Yeah, but I don't find that there can be better things, in my opinion. There can be more numbers. There can be more varieties and certain segments you can put in that will then represent.
I don't want more numbers.
I want more numbers.
I don't want more numbers.
You will have more numbers when
I
DM
want slightly
for you.
more numbers.
You will have numbers when I DM you.
Yes,
as a matter of fact, I will do that right now.
What?
I will DM you numbers.
No, you won't.
I will.
No, you won't.
Just you wait till we do heroic.
That's a rule I've thrown out. And I've brought in basic D&D. When I run AD&D, I run it with OSE combat basically. Right now, all my remaining ones I've put down here are all 5th edition rules that I hate. That I would.
Where to begin? Where to begin?
Where to begin? Well, so any 5th edition fans in the chat, I do apologise. What do I dislike about 5th edition? I hate the fast healing. I wish the gritty healing rules were the standard. I hate the multi-classing in 5th edition.
I hate classing in general. So
that's been.
Why did you Zoidberg? What was that about?
It's post. I hate post
multi-classing.
Yeah,
I hate
it makes
post
perfect
3E
sense in the
multi-classing.
game, right? Makes perfect sense in the game. So John's character's been a mage. He studied all his life to be a mage, and now he's level 2, and he's good to go. He got his stuff. I'm a fighter. Studied all my life to be a fighter, but at level 2, I'm going to dip into mage, and now I'm as every bit the mage he is.
Depending on the level discrepancies.
Other than level discrepancies, it makes no sense. It is broken. They're all broken. Hey, and I'm a wizened wizard, but I'm going to become a barbarian on the next level. How? How exactly are you becoming a barbarian? How do you immediately go from this hyper-educated, hyper-civilized human being to savage wilderness warrior with rage powers? It's dumb. Sorry.
I agree with you, Bear. We agree on this.
I have a passion about the fucking 5e multi-classing, let me tell you.
Well, it's been the same since 3rd edition, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, okay, I know, but I'm just
3rd edition
on 5e.
Multi-classing was way before then.
No,
the broken multi-classing began with 3rd edition.
1st edition multi-classing, dual class, all that stuff made sense.
Right.
It worked well.
Yes.
3rd edition on, correct. It just became, I got a thing. Ding!
Yes. Correct.
So why did it used to make sense? And it doesn't.
Because basically, going back to older versions of D&D, AD&D 1st edition, 2nd edition, you either started with 2 classes and worked on them equally, putting experience points into each one as you go. That option was only available for demi-humans. Yeah. The way humans had to do it is they had to focus on one class, and then at some point they would choose to change, to restudy as something else. They would go all the way back to level 1 and have to adventure as a 1st level character in the new class.
Yeah. But they would still have
learning the new class.
But they would have the abilities of the previous class, but that class would then be locked in. So you could be all the way up to a level 7.
You can't use them until you reach the same.
You get no XP. You get no XP for the new class if you use your old class stuff.
No, I'm going to have to retouch up on that.
Yeah.
Now, I want to address 2 things that were said. Wizard took a vacation to the mountains, got in touch with this person's elf at tracks. Yeah, except that never happens because they went back to town and now he's a barbarian. Hedge wizard of a nomad barbarian background. Again, the guy didn't have that, so he just became a barbarian. Doesn't know. You can make all the apologies you want for multi-classing in 5e, 3e, 4e, but they're fucking broken.
But no, in AD&D there was effort involved. There was a lot of effort involved, and I think that effort, the payoff and the effort were well done. Personally, I know people didn't like it, but I preferred it.
Now, Pathfinder 2 actually has a really good multi-classing system, which is you don't get the class. You get a couple of feats that duplicate some of those class effects, and these are the feats that are for that class. So you get a little bit of like, I can now cast a couple of spells, but I'm still a fighter. Made more sense. Okay.
I mean, Mage has a point here. Dual classing is underrated. Remember, you will be traveling with higher level characters while learning the new stuff, and you'll level really fast. That will happen, but you'll still have to have the downtime and the training, and you still have to learn.
Yeah, but if you have that higher level mage in your group, he can teach you.
Yes, correct.
I don't know. There's not a lot you will hear me sing the praises about of 1st edition, but that's one of them.
Good.
Now, was it the 1st edition Bard that was absolutely insane, where you had to advance like 4 different classes and shit?
Yes.
Yes.
I know. Just make it a class. Move on. 2nd edition did it better.
Second edition Bard was a bit. It wasn't great, but it was. I like the first edition Bard. I like the effort that had to go into it. I think it's very flavorful. But that's in theory. I've never seen it happen in practice.
Okay, where?
Want to sing
My
and play
point.
the
You
but
found
first
it.
I become an amazing fighter, and then I got to learn how to cast all these spells, and then I got to do this other thing, and now I can play my lute and sing songs. What the fuck?
Yeah, no, like right there, like you found my point. Who plays a bard in first edition? Who doesn't just
Apparently
go
Mage's
through all...
musings. He says they're boss, and we should shut our whore mouths.
No, you're not paying me, therefore tough.
Oh, that's the secret. We got to pay you, and then you'll shut your whore mouth. Hang on. Let me
I
see
think
what
the big issue with the
You
first
you
edition
know
Bard
exactly
for
where
me,
it's coming straight back into heroic, so don't bother. You're just going to get taxed.
it was incredibly difficult to qualify to be a Bard in first edition. That was the biggest stumbling block.
Oh, that's like being a druid in Beckme in Rule Cyclopedia. You have to go through all this cleric bullshit, and then you can become one with nature. Like, what the fuck? Why? This goes back to my original thing of, you want to know the ultimate rule I fucking hate in games that I do not like and can't stand? Class and level. Thank you very much.
Well, there's been somebody. Was it Michael? Somebody or other in your chat who's been bringing that up repeatedly in the chat.
Well, I haven't been watching the chat, really.
Michael
It's in your chat.
I think.
Wasn't Michael Stronghold? No. It was.
I don't see anything from Michael. Michael Connor.
Michael Connor. That was it. Yeah. That was it. Yeah.
He's been talking about heavy gear.
But he I'm sure he mentioned that he didn't like multiclassing.
No, Michael Connor, did you mention you didn't like multiclassing? Go ahead and tell us, please.
Not multiclassing, sorry, classes in general.
Yeah, and by the way, Sean, to answer any nitwit can pick up a loot and entertain a tavern. A true bard is the path of the skald, who must experience life. You are in true bard, suck at losers. What if I'm not from a Nordic culture, therefore I don't want to be a skald? What if I'm some poncy fucking French guy who just wants to be a jongleur and go out in my life and play music and fuck the women and sometimes stab the guy in the face? I must go on this hero's quest to do these things? No, pas du tout.
I did a video on the Bard, Mage, so you can copy mine. You're welcome to.
Shade.
No, Sorin's Bard is a flamenco dancer.
That makes sense.
What is a flatulator? Must share his mighty toot.
Mine's just a Mac owner.
Fucking 20 bards, just no. Well, okay,
No.
20 is just no for me, but that's me.
I like 1E. I like a lot of
We
the
know.
flavour of 1E. I say the thing I do remove is the surprise initiative. I play with basically.
You like it so much, why don't you marry it?
I have.
How many 1E games are you running right now?
I have. I will be
look,
running
Lord
one.
gave you some money.
Thank you, Lord Dog. Thank you. He's just here to support the channel and says he likes Palladium.
Nothing wrong with that.
Everyone's allowed to like what they like. I don't dislike Palladium. I don't dislike the rules. I'm with Bear on the rule book though. The rule book is absolute sprawling mess. But I quite like the rules. I thought the rules were pretty good.
And the rules are nice. It's class and level. I'm so fucking over class and level. As much as I like Palladium, class and level, man. No, just no.
Yeah, what was I
So
gonna
what
say?
other rules do we not like?
Okay. We're going with this sort of thing. Really, sort of came to the fore in fourth edition and stayed in fifth edition, and that's the way that powers recharge. It's very video gamey. With your short rest and your long rest powers and the way they balance over different types of rest, and certain things recharge at certain times, and it's just too video gamey for me. No, thank you.
Do you remember
want things to
what?
reach-
Do you
What?
remember what I told you about why it was introduced into 4E?
Why is that? I can't remember.
Because they were competing with online video games.
I know they
with
were.
World
Oh, yeah,
of
of
War-
course they were. Yeah.
So they were brought. It was brought in because the times were moving along. Now, I
Yeah,
understand why you don't like it in terms of the short rests, and because it's only an hour and you've got the long rest, everything's being recharged and so on. At this point, it's here to stay. And for a high fantasy game, it makes sense because you're constantly spewing out this as a high magic setting. It's not the 1E that you play or that you're based in, or really for me because I'm based in second edition. But it's
Yeah,
what
I
we
mean,
see.
I'll admit, I don't like the whole high fantasy sort of thing. If I want to play a superhero type character, I'll play heroic.
Yes, you shall.
Yeah.
Just may we have a point of parliamentary procedure inciting vocabulary.
Go on then.
Albana. What kind of fantasy is it, John, in your assessment?
I think it's quite gritty low fantasy.
Really? You're dealing with gods. You're trying to bring about a prophecy that will return God to the earth so that he will sit upon his throne and bring peace and defeat evil. You're dealing with magical creatures all over the place. Hang on, let me finish. And your characters are basically moving kingdoms right now. It's pretty high fucking fantasy to me.
It's still quite gritty and quite gnarly.
Yes, yes. But that's the thing. High fantasy and low fantasy is not a question of grit. That's what I'm saying. We've made this mistake, I think, in the community of saying high fantasy is uber magic, superhero, 5e stuff. I hate the term superhero for it because it's not superheroes, but whatever. And low fantasy is super gritty, Conan, blah. I think we're making a mistake. I think high fantasy and low fantasy, as we should be looking at them, has nothing to do with grit and everything to do with the ubiquity of magic. I think if you have too much magic, we need another term other than high fantasy. I don't know what term we would use.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Right? And then the low fantasy would be something else because it's. I think it's the ubiquity of magic that determines that scale, not how gritty it is.
Well, I often term it by like what is like if it's high fantasy, it's like what's the availability of fantastical creatures versus what is it high magic. So you've almost got two barriers. So you can have high fantasy in terms of the availability of the variation of races and creatures that are around there, but you could then have it be set in a low fantasy world, i.e. The Witcher, where magic is not readily available, but there's a crap ton.
Dragons and monsters in the woods.
I think the reason why the game feels more low magic to me is the fact that magical powers are not spammed between all the classes or all the characters in it. We've got one character who can shape magic in the party.
Yeah. So it's high magic, low magic, not high fantasy, low fantasy.
So our party,
I think we need to start making that distinction because I think we're really painting some games either end of that spectrum in ways that they are not. And as a result, it's confusing for people to say, I'm running a high fantasy game. And someone thinks, well, it's high fantasy, so there's going to be tons of magic everywhere. No. Codex Albana is a high fantasy game. You're doing important things. You're dealing with magic creatures. You're dealing with prophecy. You're dealing with all these things. But not everybody goes, woogity, woogity, woogity.
It's relatively low magic. It's relatively low magic from the player's perspective.
I don't know what terms we can use other than high and low magic, but maybe there's something we can come up with someday.
Yeah. Well, it's like I was talking about how people describe agency last week. How we talked about the terminology being wrong.
I'm not going down this fucking road again.
But no, you're right there. You are right. Yes, I mean, yes, high fantasy. We are doing heroic things. We are moving kingdoms, but we're not doing it using magic, with the exception of Cody's character, who's doing it in a very dark way now. Yes.
Even me, as the fucking narrator, was like, "What the fuck did Cody just do?" Thank God we're not using sanity points in this game. Otherwise, y'all would have lost some.
Yes.
Anyway,
there we go, James. Yes, character agency.
Character agency. I'm actually going to include a section in my Final Age game explaining the difference between the misnomer of player agency versus character agency.
Yeah, that's do it. Get it out there. Get it part of the get that description out there as a standard one.
Oh.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So yes, I mean describing it high. Yeah. You're right about differentiating between high magic and high fantasy. So your game is high fantasy, relatively low magic.
I'd like everybody to go buy a lotto ticket because far too many of you said Bear is right on this one, and that never happens. So please, for the love of God, someone go buy a fucking lotto ticket, win $1 million, and help me publish.
It's just a measly 10% of all your winnings that has to go to heroic.
A meager, a type.
It's a stipend, nothing that you're already paying taxes.
In fact, less. But anyway,
Yeah.
we digress. All right, what other mechanics do we loathe?
I don't like fast healing rules.
I hate the fast healing rules. They're silly.
I don't.
Well,
Oh my God, I almost had my arm cut off and the dragon breathed fire on me, but I'm still hanging out with 1 point. Let me just take an 8-hour nap. Fucking great.
So I'm going to be the odd one out here because I like it for my current 5th edition group on the basis that I can get them back out there so I can beat them some more.
But
Like,
isn't it more fun to have them have to fucking race to town to get Bob the fighter to the healers because the fucking hordes are coming and now they're running for their lives and you get to beat on them some more.
Oh no, I do that too, but like the more I can beat them, the better. And what I've started to branch out a bit more for them to the point of where they're now casting Lehman's Tiny Hut constantly because they're realizing I'm now doing mind attacks against them. So it's like, damn, they're adapting. Need to find new ways. So I'm trying to see if I can lure them into an area where I can just have the ground collapse underneath them.
I promise. Once it's ready, I want you. You tell me what I need to do, but I want you to run Final Age because I think you are the only GM other than myself, and even I don't think I'd do it as rough as you, that could run that game with the morbid disparity that it's supposed to have.
Yeah, but okay, diversion time, because you've been telling me of the sort of things you've been doing in Final Age. I've been seeing some of the things. I do need to catch a little bit up. However, the moment you told me that there was the ability of doing blood magic, do you remember one of the first things I said back to you?
Let me directly quote you because it'll make life better. Hang on just a sec. Yes.
I can do it verbatim if you'd like.
Yes, go ahead, please.
I immediately picture the wizard having a bunch of slaves with him so he can sacrifice them for their life and then just use that to boost himself. See, that's immediately the picture I got from this. Like, why would there be all these terrible things? Well, because the wizards need to have this blood. Because we need to have all of these horrible
What he's
things.
referring to is in Final Age, when you run out of magic points and there's certain spells that you will never have enough magic points to cast, you can trade 5 hit points for 1 magic point. Doesn't have to be your hit points.
Yeah.
You understand?
That's nice.
And there's a whole section I've added on ritual casting where you can get a bunch of mages together and each one of them will contribute this much and this thing and that thing. But you know what? I don't feel like wasting my magic points on this. Bring in the captives. I made a chart of the quality of human sacrifice based on age, virginity, religious origin. Like, you're a preacher, you're worth a ton. You're the child of a preacher. Oh, now you're worth. I added green eyes for the Big Trouble in Little China crowd. If the person has green eyes, they get a little more of a bonus in there. This is the stuff. I have made magic in Final Age so interesting and so compelling and so like people who love magic are going to go, oh, I can do this and I can do that. All the while reminding them magic attracts the scourge. And the scourge is what's keeping civilization shattered right now. So go ahead and cast all that magic. Do all that crazy shit.
Yes.
There are consequences.
Yes. See, I'm looking forward for that. I'm looking forward for when this is ready. I'm gonna see who I can drag into a game for that because
I can't wait to read those fucking summaries.
Oh man, I'm gonna see what I can do for that because I already know there's a couple of players. The moment
it's gonna be the paragraph. Yeah, blah 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 blah. And then
I already know one player of mine. If I can drag him out of his hovel, he will look at the binding and immediately go, I'm playing that because I will become the 40k warpsmith. I will drag demons in. I will do all of these things. I'll make horrible cursed items. Why? Because I can, Oscar. This is now permitting me to do these things.
Did you read The Breaker?
Yes, I read it. It's been
the counter binder, the person whose entire life is to go around and undo what binders do. Oh yeah.
Yes.
Hey, someone just sent me on my chat or in Discord a great video. I'm going to post it in my chat. Actually, I'll post it in the private chat. So if you want to share it here, John, it's those guys from New Zealand. They're called.
I run this through Firefox. Firefox doesn't tend to show sound.
No, it's okay. You can just share the link so people go look at it. It's Viva Dirt League's video on a long rest fixes everything in D&D, and I remember when it came out a couple of years ago. It's pretty funny. It really sums up the whole thing. So in the private chat in StreamYard, I put the link for you. You can copy it and paste it in.
I'll copy it from there. Yeah. So I can do that.
It's a really good video if you want to see how stupid long rest is.
Yeah. There we go. Right. One thing I'm talking about sort of grittiness and healing and all that sort of thing. It's a slight tenuous link. I think this is a story that from one of my games that Saxius might approve of. I was running the module WG4 When a Star Falls for my group. It's a low-level module, levels 3 to 5. Most of the party was level 4-ish. And they adventuring in there, and they find this. They defeat a monster that should be too powerful for them, but it's weakened. So, and they defeat it quite easily. And they find this wine in the creature's lair, and one of the party members takes a celebratory drink from the wine, which of course is poisoned. He fails his saving throw versus poison. The game says save or die. And I was like, no, immediate death would be boring. So I described him as rolling around on the floor, gagging, spewing his guts up, whatever, which gave them hope because they had befriended a druid who lived about 2 days' travel away. So they loaded his unconscious body onto the horses and they galloped back to their friendly druid because they thought, oh, this druid might be able to cure poisons. This druid might be able to help. And I gave them half an hour of role playing this through, giving them hope. All this time, I knew the druid was not high enough level to cast neutralize poison.
Mm-hmm. Good.
Yeah, that's pretty. I like that.
Yeah. So kill them, players. Kill them now.
So they arrived back, and the druid looked at him and went, "I'm sorry, I cannot help him." And that's when the character died.
How long did you say it took them to get there?
Oh, a couple of days of that sort of stuff, and panicking and checking he's okay and trying to keep him going. And
see, if you wanted to really grind it in, ask for a couple more like Constitution saves or some additional, save versus poisons here, like as though like there was this build up of potential hope.
Dude, I had a West campaign end. Sadly, we never got to play again after because everybody's lives got crazy, but it ended. It was one of my live streams with them getting him to the Medicant, and he's like hemorrhaging and hallucinating from the poison in his system. And we'll never know if he lived because that campaign died, sadly.
Oh.
But it was great watching them all be like, huh. Yeah, fuck with your players. He says kill them. I say fuck with them.
No, well, yeah, you could do that too, but I'm very open.
Oh, the thing is, the players enjoyed it. The players enjoyed the whole thing, and when he died, they all laughed and thought it was.
IQ, I think you found the thing that you will become when you are a DM. You will do both. You will toy with them like a cat, and then at the end, you will give them a painful death.
Or be capricious. Sometimes toy with them, and then just when they're at the breaking point, throw them a line. Why? Because now, next time you toy with them, they don't know how it's going to end. Because one time we all died, but another time we got saved. Oh, I don't know what's going to happen anymore. Which will give them the desire to keep trying.
Yes. This is what I want.
And still Stockholm Syndrome. It's the best.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Thank you for attending our TED Talk.
So for me, I've thrown out 3 more things, rules I dislike, aspects of games I dislike, and some more from you, chaps. Come on, chaps. Rules you dislike.
I think I've spent my piece.
Well, I mean, I had 2 apparently. So penalty dice
I
or
think you
bonus
did pretty
dice in
good. I
Call of
think you and
Cthulhu and
Sax
group
had the
initiative in
most.
D&D.
Okay.
I think these two had the most. Like, he had books and you had opinions. You know, it worked out well.
It did. And the chat, have you got anything you really dislike? I mean, I know you've been mentioning things while we've been blathering away. And I'm not very good at reading chat while I'm blathering.
Don't recall.
You go into
anything.
your closed eyes Zen state. That's why.
I will say, Strawpig that says, I love my players. I will also say, I love my players. It's just tough love.
Thanks, Bear.
You guys like your players?
Yeah.
Oh, I love my players,
Yeah.
but it's tough love. They pulled a miracle out of their ass in the last Codex Albana game solely because Cody thought on his feet and saved their ass in that fight.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
What are you trying to say, Sax?
George.
I thought we had something nice here.
We do have something nice. You attend my games.
Brian agrees with me about AD&D initiative. George, this whole supervillain thing. Iman, you played at that little scenario I ran at the convention where the DMs
Indeed.
were quite murderous, weren't they?
Oh yeah.
The bad guys in a Call of Cthulhu scenario I wrote were DMs at a convention.
I'm going to share
Yes.
my screen with you in a second.
Are you doing the one for George?
Yeah, the one from my Patreon.
Yeah, okay. That's what I
Gotta
was going to
find
say.
it because it was there. It is. Okay, beautiful. I'm going to share my screen if that's okay with you, Mr. Magoo, the owner of this here thing.
Mr. Magoo.
So I created a villain for my heroic game called the Dungeon Master. And his entire thing is that he is a villain, and he's basically a nerd who found power, and he got back at all the bullies by creating magical dungeons with which to kill them in. And now he rents his abilities out to other people to create dungeons to kill and assassinate people for people. So he's kind of like Arcade
lovely.
from Marvel, but as a really asinine, nerdy D&D player with a chip on his shoulder. $5 a month. Feel free to join.
Yeah. He is the non-approved OSHA dungeon generator.
Yeah, exactly.
I think you need to give him a beard and a Danish accent.
No.
Oh, shots fired.
Why not?
I'd have him riding on a bicycle and say, "Hey, want to play a game?"
All right. Jerry says he hated in 3rd edition D&D that players could tell the DM, I want this magic item for my build, and so on.
Ah, yes, the word of player agency, 3rd
mean-
edition D&D.
So if you are giving up XP and gold for a magical item, you're already paying for it. But I don't see the problem.
It devalues magic items. It makes them ubiquitous.
Yeah, but that's welcome to 3rd edition.
Yeah, I know. One of the reasons I didn't
So-
like 3rd edition.
Yeah, so you are giving up your XP to generate it. You're going to have to go out and acquire the wealth and the exotic items to generate it. So I'm defending it here because I've been playing it for 6 to 8 years. And yes, this is a core mechanic. You might not like it because it's specifically done for 3rd edition and 3.5. And you will also see that there was something that they dropped off later on because it wasn't what people wanted. And that's why in
Shit.
4E it had a different impact. It's no different than you in 1st edition going out of your way to find all the gold exotic items and then having to sacrifice a bunch of your spell slots, as well as maybe a bit of constitution if you wanted to make it a permanent thing. Or if you were willing to then work with your DM, you would sacrifice the constitution of someone else. Because that's why we keep the dwarves in the party.
But there is one key point about this post here. One key point that I really need to pick up on. Build.
Yes.
The idea of a player character being a build came in with 3rd edition. Really came in with 3rd edition. Okay, it can be argued that it sort of was there already, but player characters, you don't build a player character. You don't build, you create a player character. There's a difference. There's imagination that goes on in creation. Building is just formulaic crap. There we go. I will never let... if my players at the table refer to their characters as builds, they will get the stern look.
Right.
The stern look. The disapproving look.
I fucked with a player so hard one time. He went out and he went onto the Giant playground and went to their build section, and he got the ultimate build for his character, and he knew everything. He had planned out levels 1 to 10. He knew what was going on. So I read the same article and specifically avoided every fucking scenario where the things they gave green as must-haves would ever be useful. I just made a point of never allowing him to have the access of the moment to be able to use that cool thing from his build. Like, fuck you, we're going to circumvent that idea. And then by about level 5, he's like, dude, I don't like this character. I went, oh, you want to roll with something now? If you play with builds, you suffer from the same problem you have when you have a backstory. Okay, well, why? For years and years and years in my home game, my players are now at the point where they're like, can you just make characters for us and we'll play the characters you give us and we're going to have fun in the campaign that way. And a lot of people go, why? Man, making player agency, I make my own characters, blah, blah, blah. Well, we treat it like theater. You're playing Hamlet. Now let's see what your version of Hamlet looks like. Here's the character. What are you going to do to bring him to life? Why does this work? Because when you make your own characters, you have thoughts in your head of really cool moments and scenes that you can envision where my character will do this or this thing will happen. But your GM is not psychic. They can't see those thoughts in your head. And therefore, there's going to be a high chance you're never going to get what you want. And as a result, you will have less fun and it will be less satisfying for you. But when you're handed a character, here's some numbers, here's a little background, here's a little bit of information about who they are, and then you get to bring all of that to life and you get to make it your own, you're going to achieve something with, they say emergent storytelling. Well, emergent character creation, emergent character development, emergent character identity. Instead of worrying about who they were, you're going to worry about who they are and who they're becoming. And I think that's a much more powerful way of role-playing. But you got to be in a level of playing where you're okay with not rolling up your character or making a character build. And that can be hard sometimes. Some people have a hard time.
I like things to begin very bare bones and then develop from there. I mean, my character ideas tend to be a couple of lines, usually for my reference, which I'll try and bring into the game, as I did with Devere.
Devere is an ass.
He is, yes.
No, like he really is. Like, that's okay. There's a come to Jesus moment coming for Devere.
Oh. Good. He deserves it. He thoroughly deserves it.
Truly
I look forward to it. I look
forward
to
your next character.
And I'll play someone completely different.
He'll be like helpful and nice and get along with everybody. It'll be a great character. You'll be really impressed by Navri. You're a knight? Wow.
Oh God. Oh no.
When Max's character finally
guys, I mean, accepts
finally accepts that he is the true king, can I play his squire?
That's an interesting thing. We'll see.
I mean, I remember I played because I rolled an abysmal character. I basically went, DM, I'm going to be playing the slave of one of the other players. So, started off the entire campaign by basically going, all right, which one of you will own a slave? That'll be my character. And I was like, I actually had people fight over. It's like, no, I want his character to serve me. It was like, lovely, this is great. Because the DM was like, no one would take you up on that. I was like, no, they will. Trust me.
I think it'd be fun. Yeah.
Yeah, Devere's got Perrin, so
I could play Perrin.
Perrin V2.
Okay, people love Perrin currently. I don't think you taking over Perrin would be a good move.
No. Perrin, like, Play your own character. Paran is established, and at some point, hopefully, he will
Die.
die. Yeah. No, I'll say
he's a
he'll
small
die.
boy.
I don't
Can't do
care.
that.
I
Can't do
can.
that.
I will. I'll do it in a heartbeat.
So, as I said to my hero group when I killed Squire, and they were like, "You killed him!" Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you got to kill the ones they love. Because if you don't kill the ones they love, there's no impact.
That's true. That's true. That's true. For those who don't know what we're talking about there, this is Codex Albana. This is a monthly, mostly monthly, when we get it sorted out, game that we live stream. We live stream it onto multiple channels, and it's really good.
May I point out something, by the way? None of you noticed that the Beastman has not returned since your ship crashed.
I noticed. I didn't say anything. My character noticed.
None of you said shit about the fact that this guy is missing. Probably.
I noticed as a player. But
none of your characters seem to.
No.
Well,
do you think Devere would notice?
Wonder if that can come back to bite you in the ass at some point.
no, he just went to join his family out there in the woods with the Witching Queen. Listen, I will repeat it as I've said before. Just kill the PCs. Just
Kill the things they love and make them completely hate their lives. Come on, Sax.
Cheers, Piglet. Poor Beastman. Yes, poor Beastman. Poor Beastman.
Bye, Piglet.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I know I did notice as a player, but I didn't have Devere pay any sort of attention to it.
Well, why would Devere? Because he's a filthy animal man.
Yeah.
He's underclass as far as you're concerned, right?
Yeah, quite.
Not that you're low. Not that you're not just jumped up lower class. Jumped up commoner. That's all you are, sir.
Cloth merchant.
The cloth knight in the special.
Shut it, you.
I see the value of the Night Horse B&D has gone down since you can now buy them. Peasants can reach for these levels. What does it take? A single yard of silk? Is that all? Is that all you're worth?
It takes years of a family working for the king. The finest cloth makers in all of Calabria.
Oh, so my neighbor Bob can become it tomorrow.
No, he would have to earn that right. His family would have to earn those lands.
I think we're off topic and we're not going to be going back to rules we dislike.
Well, we can go back to rules we dislike.
Pretty good. I think we're in the pumpkin moments, aren't we?
Well, we've got 25 minutes left of pumpkin stuff. It depends if the chat want to come up with rules they dislike that we can discuss. So, chat, you come up with rules that you dislike, and we'll discuss them and say whether we like them or whether we dislike them. It's over to you. You drive conversation now, chat. We are your pawns.
What?
Quick fire.
Go. I didn't sign up for that.
Yeah, I object.
Sorry, I didn't know that that this panel had the same terms and condition as Disney Plus.
We are only nerds.
I was thinking, what?
We are
what about
only,
panelist agency? Don't we have panelist agency?
No, we don't. We are only nerds. We are here to pour ourselves out to chat.
Well, I can't because I have only bears to deal with, so I can't be double dipping like that.
Oh,
excuse me, I've got some accountancy to do. I've got an entire job for that. Besides, I don't think you've signed this off for my boss. Asmodeus would have a word with you.
Omanal says he doesn't like merits and flaws that give points for increased statistics. For increased statistics, no. But I played Savage Worlds Deadlands game. And I created a character in that. And when you pick your things, you can pick up a flaw. And the flaws are quite serious. And it got him a power that was tied to his flaw, to his sort of fatalistic, and his flaw made him very, very conscious of his mortality, and it gave me a real role-playing hook to get into because he was dying, I had to roll the dice before every session, and if it came up with a certain number, then the condition got worse. And I role played it and role played it and role played it as his condition got worse. It gave me something to get my teeth into. It was a proper flaw, and he basically won that campaign. We won when he basically went suicide bomber on them because he knew he'd got weeks left. So he marched into the middle of the enemy base and blew it all sky high. That's how it ended.
Cool. Great story, bro. Tell it again.
Moving swiftly onwards.
Yeah, like,
Moving
what was
swiftly
the
on.
point of that tale other than, wow, you played a dark, morose character who ended in death?
But that was a merit and flaw that gave points for increased stuff. It was a trade-off. I took a flaw that gave him a power, but it actually adding the flaw gave me a role-playing thing to get my teeth into.
Yeah.
And it was a mechanical flaw that had an impact on the game. And it was a significant one. He had cancer, basically.
It can be. It really depends, though.
Situational. To say the least.
It's a situational thing. It's also down for the DM. Something like that. If I'm a DM and I don't mind merits and flaws, but when the players approach me and they start outline these things and they know that it's going to be a short campaign, and they start going like, "Oh, I'm going to take this and this because it'll give me the most amount of it." And I was like, I need something I can sink my teeth into. I'm going to use an example where I shot myself very hard in the foot by merits and flaws, and by extent out of the campaign, and the storyteller had to hold back because of what I had effectively done. In a Vampire the Masquerade game, I picked that two of my flaws were that I was not liked by my own clan, and that my entire setup was that I was basically a pawn of the prince directly. And the second part was that vampire hunters, if I ever got onto the news or the tablets, they would come gunning for me because I was a known vampire within their circles. I was just currently in hiding from them. As we played along, eventually it became a whole thing of my leash to the prince became a problem, and it effectively ended with me talking to the storyteller, going, "We need to off my character. I'm not having fun." We did that, and we then had the whole scene where the storyteller specifically said that the death of my character was on the news, and I sat and thought, "Oh, here we go. Now the vampire hunters are gonna come and kick our shit in." The storyteller did not do it, but the storyteller then said he wanted to step down, and I then said, "Ryan, I'll step up," and I went down the route of vampire hunters came, and they began kicking the hell out of the vampires in Detroit. That drastically changed the game because of these flaws, and because the storyteller thought he didn't want to enact that because it was going to derail the story that he wanted to tell. Whereas I thought this was actually quite a major one, and in hindsight, I shouldn't have chosen it without his permission.
I mean, obviously, yes, it's changed the game that he was wanting to run.
Yeah. But merits and flaws are something where it is a give and take.
Yes.
I would go with the approach of you need to approach it because you will have some flaws that are good for your character, for your story, that will give you something to flex your role-playing muscles with. And it'll give the storyteller, the dungeon master, the game master, something that they can then bite their teeth into and just give you a little bit of pain. And likewise, you can have some merits for some benefits. Go on, Bear. I'll shut up.
I like merits and flaws because it allows players that want to build their character, using that dirty word for you, John, that basically think that they're indestructible, and then you teach them that I'm the GM. I am God. I have power over this universe. I can do anything I want. Rocks fall, everybody dies. Where's your fucking advantage now? Where's your merit? Where's your boon? Don't play. I like them because they give a sense of overconfidence to a certain type of player who then has to learn the hard lesson of, oh shit, the paper means 50% of this, not 100%.
Raven mentioned something we talked about a few weeks ago: rules that monsters that players hate. Was that the topic of that stream? level drain. We were talking about undead and level drain. Raven, my dear. Raven. Your body is warm. Let me take some of that warmth and feed my soul. That feels good. Oh, you feel cold. Oh, you feel, I have a piece of your soul. I have a piece of your soul. I thank you for the gift. I feel satiated now, but I will take my leave. I may return when I need some more. But then,
what you don't understand is John is actually creating a thing for a geek porn line where he just talks and does ASMR torture of players. 99 cents a minute. Check with your local provider.
But no, what then? If you bring in a mechanic whereby that explains the hit points loss exactly. But if you bring in a mechanic whereby if the player character then slays the being that stole a piece of their soul, they recover, then I think that's fine. I think that will work. Just add that mechanic. Gives them. It can give you a real plot hook.
Things like level drain, I have gone either with you don't get it back, tough, or you now need to do rest for a month. You either sacrifice time or you don't get anything. Like those are the two rules I've gone with.
I like the idea. I do like the idea of taking a quest to basically take out the being that drained you to recover the loss.
On that note, I have a story to tell. When I was in college, I was running a game of Chill, and the players were investigators going out looking for monsters and all that kind of stuff, and they wound up getting on the wrong side of a very powerful vampire, and they were becoming a pain in the ass to the vampire, specifically one player, Professor Manning. He was becoming a real pain in the ass to the vampire lord. So eventually the vampire lord had him kidnapped, and in the lore, if you killed the vampire that sired you, you would undo your vampirism, right? So he brought him into a room, tied him down, and brought in 20 vampires, and they all bit. So as far as he's concerned, he now has to hunt 21 vampires, the 20 plus the Lord, to reverse his humanity, to get back his humanity. But he doesn't know which one is actually considered his sire in this scenario. So now I'm setting up the next leg of the campaign, which is them going on a vampire hunting campaign. Well, players are going to be players. And when they got back to their mansion and his casket was in the middle, one of the other players went, wait, what the fuck happened? And, you got that vampire, and then we got to do, yeah, fuck that. I flipped the casket open and pulled the drapes. So basically, he just killed the other player's character by exposing him to sunlight right there and ended the campaign. I have never seen a player more pissed than the guy who was the one, because he was like, oh my God, we have such a great campaign to go to. And then there's other players like, yeah, fuck that. I'm not working with the vampire. Done. That player fucking agency, eh?
That's perfect, yes. Character agency.
No, whatever. You know what I mean.
Character agency.
I'm being facetious.
Yes. But no, that's perfect as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, great.
But I like your idea of hunting down the thing that took your levels, killing it, and getting your levels back.
And I mean, Brian's talking about the idea that, in general, the people who create the rules have a better idea of how everything works, how everything meshes. That is true. And I will always say, when you get, I know Bear disagrees here because he didn't run played it by the rules, but when I get a new game, I will try to run it by the rules and try to learn how they all work before I make changes. I think it's important that you get a good grasp of what the game is trying to do.
I agree with that. But I played them in college.
Oh, right, is that right? Okay, fair enough. I thought you. I thought playing was completely.
I wasn't encyclopedic on it, but I'd played it in college. We played a shit ton of
Robotech
back in the day.
I thought you were new to Palladium when we did all that. So.
Oh no.
All right, fair enough. But yeah, I mean, I think before you dissect rules and add in your own bits and bobs and drop things, whatever, try things out, because you never know as someone, I think someone else said, was it Michael Stronghold said? I think things often play better than they look on paper. Yes, there we are.
Things always look better on paper than they play too.
Yes, exactly. Try things out first, and then see how they play, and then make a decision based on how they play. It's not an exact science. We won't all agree on what's good and what's not. We won't all agree on what should be in and what shouldn't. And I will try before you buy, definitely. And on that note, I think we're very much into talking bullshit. Excellent. So, chaps, we have a convention coming up, don't we, Bear?
Yeah, we do.
I've got some Canadian dollary dues downstairs.
I actually have to spend next week prepping all my print stuff for the game I'm running.
Yeah, same here. I'm going to do it this weekend. I'm going to print out characters and stuff this weekend.
I did some test prints on my printer and they look like shit, so I'm going to send them to the local print shop and get them done up nicely on the color laser printers and stuff. That's what I'm going to have to do.
I've got Thursday night. I'm not going to be running a game Saturday night, so that'll be another more time for me to do it, and all day Monday to do it, to get all my stuff printed out, but most of it done. So good. Clericon is the weekend of the 25th to 27th.
Yeah.
I will be flying out to Canada on the morning of the 22nd. So there will be no midweek geek next week because I will be at Major's house. So unless you want to host from your place, Sean, we could have a joint thing from there. I mean, it depends what we're doing next Wednesday. I think we might have a game plan for next Wednesday. I'm going to be playing a few of Major's games.
Enjoy your time in Canada. Enjoy your time visiting Clericon. Don't worry about the stream. If it works out, it works out. Yeah, go on.
I mean, I plan on videoing bits and pieces though, and getting a few things up about it. We need to document. Yeah, we'll play OSE at 7 p.m. Fair enough. Yeah, okay, Mage. Whatever you want to do on that day, it's up to you. As long as I'm fed and watered, I don't care. I'm easy.
Like a potted plant.
Yes.
Yeah, he's like a cactus, more like.
Yes.
Just feed him, water him, put him in the corner, and then leave him there.
Hey, John can attest. I'm pretty much the same.
Yeah, but you're not coming, which is sad.
Next year. Sure.
Next year. Yes.
Believe it when I see it.
You will.
Wednesday's fine. Yeah, OSE on Wednesday, absolutely brilliant. It gives me a day to sort of acclimatise because I'll be arriving in Canada evening Canadian time on the Tuesday, and I will be departing Canada on the following Tuesday. Getting home in the morning of the Wednesday when I get here. So I'm about to
all this week and next week on my Patreon, I'm posting the characters and monsters and the villains that are going to be showing up in the game I'm running at the convention.
Yeah, they look really good.
It's all horror themed.
Yeah,
I wish I signed up straight away to Dungeon Minister's Lads game, so I wasn't available when you decided at the last minute to run something.
I wonder why I decided that. It's almost like someone bullied me into it. Who was that again? Oh, you.
Hey, okay.
Oh, yes. You.
But you're going to enjoy it. You're going to be
playing with complete strangers. I'm not going to enjoy this.
They won't be complete strangers by then because you'll have been at the convention for a few days.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to hang out at the convention and watch people play games.
We go to Clericon, Kokoshuko, Papashango. It's in Glen Williams on the edge of Toronto. So it's a small convention being run by the Dungeon Minister in his church hall. And there's a few people going. Slan's going, Mage is going, I'm going, Bear's going, Halakar's going. So there you go. That's
Probably old Slan. He's going to be trapped in a car with me for 12 hours. No wonder he's not looking forward to it. Yeah, except you forgot to mention 10 of those 12, well, not 10, 8 of those 12 hours are going to be getting through Toronto. Jesus Christ.
yeah. I mean, it's only going to be 40 or 50 people there, isn't there? I think.
Yeah.
So it's going to be quite a small. It's your hood, Toronto. Well, Kokoshuko, we're going to be around. We're going to be in Glen Williams. So if you're in that vicinity and you spot nerds wandering around in Glen Williams, it'll be us.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm a little nerd. Bear's a big nerd.
I'm a geek.
Okay, you're a geek. Okay, you're a big geek. I'm a little geek. I'm a little geek. We're both old geeks.
Nerds are more science and maths. Okay. That's what nerds are.
Oh, okay. I'm a nerd then.
You're a fucking shit-dwelling freak.
Where does Excel fall in this?
Nerd.
I'm happy.
I didn't know. So whereabouts in Canada are you from then, Kokoshuko? Are you...
GTA, I'm more north. So he's the greater Toronto area, but he's north of it.
What? Oh, GTA. I didn't know what that meant.
Yeah, well, no. Everyone in Toronto thinks everything they say about Toronto, everyone else must obviously understand because it's Toronto, the center of the universe.
Okay.
Oh, naturally.
It's like London is here.
Yeah, Toronto's like New York and London of Canada, though we have a London near Toronto.
Yeah, so it's like London is here. Yeah.
Makes sense.
It's all meaningless to me. Canada's
Simcoe,
just a huge country that's miles away. It's full of bears.
Yes, it is. My people rule.
So, looking forward to it.
You're up near Barrie if you're at Lake Simcoe, so that's like an hour drive, hour and a half. How far a drive is it from Barrie to Toronto? Actually, coming to Williams would be even shorter because you could avoid Toronto completely.
Well, that's north, because Glen Williams is north, isn't it? North of Toronto.
Well, it's
northwest.
Northwest to She, yeah.
So, if you want to pop down and wave and say hello, I'm invited. I shouldn't be inviting you, I guess. It's up to the Dungeon Minister to invite you. But I think the games are pretty much full. But popping down and saying hello it's just meeting fellow nerds, geeks, dweebs.
Glen Williams is just west of Brampton and Mississauga.
Hello, Nerdy Yoga.
Don't forget
Nerdy Yoga's arriving just as we're wrapping up. But
don't forget what?
The dorks.
Dorks.
Dorks are not even in the hierarchy. Dorks are the ones we just go, what a fucking dork, and move on with our day. Like, don't drag them in. Leave them outside where they belong.
The story of his life arriving late. Yes, the separation lines in the community, yes. They are. They are the terms when I do my tier list things. Geek is top tier. Nerd is second tier. Dweeb is middle tier. Dork is lower tier. And table flip is the bottom.
Table flip.
Yes.
Those fucking flippers.
Yeah, so I'll be driving up to Manchester on Tuesday morning. Jumping on Air Iceland plane, stopping off in Keflavik Airport near Reykjavik for about an hour, and then getting on another plane.
Man, I'm just looking at Glen Williams. There aren't a lot of restaurants in this area in walking distance of this convention. You
don't need a lot of restaurants. You just need one good one.
Yeah, well, I'm not even seeing a good one. I'm not even seeing one. Never mind its quality. The Glen Tavern's probably closest, and it's about 100 meters from the convention over the bridge.
I think that might be frequented then.
And then there's the Copper Kettle Pub.
Yeah, good name.
We got to head into the town itself from the church. So it's a hoof, and it's gonna be cold. We're getting a cold snap for Halloween this year, so enjoy that.
I looked at the temperature projections. It said about 12 to 15 degrees.
Yeah, that's cold here. Like you're gonna feel it. 12 to 15 is not warm.
Celsius.
Yeah, and it's not warm.
That's what we're used to here, 12 to 15.
No, you're used to it.
You're not used to it with the cold wind. The wind makes the difference.
I look forward to this being said at least twice over the weekend. My God, it's cold here. Oh, blah, blah, blah. I look forward to that.
So our temperature here has been about 10 degrees the last few days, so we're not warm here at the moment.
We are currently 9 degrees and heading towards 3 tonight.
It's different.
I know. It's a drier cold, isn't it, in Canada? I would have thought.
Depends where you are. Some areas are damp, some aren't. So yeah, we're dipping down to a real cold in Glen Williams, and then we're going back up into the mid-teens for the week of the con. But let's go look at the actual projection, shall we? Yes, we shall. Hang on, I'll let you know.
I mean, where Iman's from, mid-teens is t-shirt weather for people up north. You don't wear a coat until it's freezing. Is that right, Iman?
So the 20. So the 25th. The 25th is 13 high, 6 low at night with rain. Saturday is 14 high in the day, 7 low at night. Sunday 14 high, 6 low at night. So it's the evenings are going to be chilly as fuck, man.
I mean, and then
bring a sweater. I'm sorry, bring a jumper.
I will be. Yeah, I will be. I'll be bringing a couple of hoodies.
You have a heavy coat?
Yes.
Okay. Bring that too.
It's one of those ones where you've got like...
Temperature's not necessarily the problem. It's humidity, wind, and rain.
Cedar Springs Motel. What is Cedar Springs Motel? Is that in Glen Williams? Oh, yeah. Halton Hills. It's right next to it. Okay. It's got 2 stars. Ew. And it's $85 Canadian a night.
So about 50 quid a night. Ooh. Where are you staying, Bear? Have you got anywhere?
Mike Percival has a double room, 2 queen sizes at the Best Western, and he offered me one of them, so I'm going to grab it.
Oh, nice one. He was in the chat earlier, wasn't he, Mike?
Was he here earlier? I don't know if I saw him.
Mike Percival.
Yeah.
Yes, he was. Yes. Yeah.
So he's being very very kind, saving me some money, which is really nice of him. So I'm bringing him a gift because you got to give people a gift to save you some money. Yes. Yeah. If you wanted a hotel room for that weekend, $203 Canadian for the 2-star Cedar Springs Motel.
Wow. That's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. Yeah. We moan about hotel prices over here, but that's far worse.
The pictures look nice and all, to be honest. I want to see if I can find a review.
I'll have to look see if Mike's in one of my games. So, anyway, we have to bring this stream to a close.
I got to get ready. I'm heading out to see some friends.
I'm just going to do one of these. Just going to do a quick one of those. Counteract. Oh, I appear to have got 2 haters on the stream tonight.
I bet you one of them is that asshole we banned because I got 3 haters on it tonight.
You got 3?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Well, people will do that. But thank you, chaps, for joining. Everyone in chat, make sure you subscribe to these 3 fine gentlemen because you've got no excuse either, because you can see their channel names by them underneath their their mugs on the video. So accounting DM, Bear the Gen X GM, and Intellectual Quandary are the names of their channels. Subscribe to them. Subscribe to me, but you probably already are, I hope. And thank you, chat. Why doesn't Condor speak in chat? Oh, I spoke his name. Have I summoned him? I don't know. But hey ho, he's got no beef with me yet. Anyway, he's just got beef with Bear. Those things.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you, chap, for your contributions. Thank you, chaps, for being good sports as always. I've been the old geek, and I'll see you on I will be streaming on Friday, but then obviously it's going to be convention time, so things will just be a little bit up in the air for a while. But cheers all. Good night. Good night.
Bye.